Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic night of Sci-Fivision presents Fandom Access. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, AJ. How are you?
Good.
Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
And I'm Karen. Nice to be here.
Yes, good to be here again. And what we're going to start with from, obviously, we will not go on and on as long as Julie and Scarlett and I did, but thank you, everybody, for coming. Just a quick update, and I'll try to, say this a couple times just as reminders for people who do pop in. Hi, Taran. That we will be having our special guest starting next Tuesday on the 12th. We have Nathan Simmons, followed by on the 19th,
Jamie,
who plays Elgin, followed by on the 19th, we have Avery Conrad, who plays Sarah, and on the 26th, we have Elizabeth Saunders, who plays Donna. So those are coming up on starting next Tuesday.
Those are three great characters. I can't wait to talk to those actors.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right.
And those are three characters who actually do something, unlike everybody else this week.
Karen did not like this episode at
all.
all.
She did not.
I'm like, what the hell? I mean, you're allowed to not like it. I just was surprised you so vehemently didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, we got that for like an hour, and then later we'll talk about what do we have? Daryl Dixon, Agatha, and Teacup.
Yeah.
Later tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about those.
Okay.
All right. Well, why don't you start off by since you had such strong feelings, why don't you talk about why you didn't like the episode?
I think this was the worst episode of the season. And I also think it might be the worst episode of the entire series. In terms of not only did nothing happen, I mean, a couple of very small things happened. And not much has happened lately. Like this episode made, so nothing happened. And anybody who showed up was a total jerk. I mean, beyond a total jerk. Everyone is so unpleasant that I really want everyone to die. I had a real feeling. I just had a real feeling that I had spent an hour with some really unpleasant characters that I didn't really like. I had a real feeling there's no one that I'm rooting for or that I care about, and I was starting to wonder why I'm watching this show. I think maybe one thing I didn't really articulate well to you guys was I might also be feeling the way that I think it's crystallizing for me that season 3 is dragging more than seasons 1 or 2, and I'm not really sure that we haven't learned anything. Nothing's really happening. Like, I think this is a slow season. We have 3 episodes to go, so it could all pay off. And I could come back and say, like, wow, that was a slow build. I loved it in the last 3. But the first 6, the first 2/3 have been, I think it crystallized for me that I'm spending a lot of time with unpleasant people who I don't like. And what is the payoff that I'm getting from it? And I just felt really, when I turned it off, I was like, do I want to watch this show anymore? And I know I'm going to get hammered in the comments because few people agree with me, and I might have overreacted, but I think you will all agree that everyone in the town is so unpleasant. Why are we I need somebody I can get behind. Maybe Elgin is a nice guy, but he's a complete cipher. We haven't learned anything about him or his personality. He doesn't talk to anyone. He suffers inside. Like, I was very, very frustrated with this episode.
I think that. Hold on a second, Jamie. I think the writers have been extremely successful because Karen is now living in Fromville because she's as frustrated as everybody in town. I think Karen doesn't realize it, but she is actually in Fromville because she is upset with everybody as everybody in town with each other. I mean, actually, I feel like maybe you relate with Acosta because the little bit we saw of Acosta episode was no, hold on. Oh, let me make my point.
Right.
She goes to Kenny and is like, "What the hell? Why is there a police station that looks like an old postal office? Why is there this? Why is that? Why is nobody asking these questions? Why is nothing happening? Why is nothing going on? And that's kind of what you're saying. You're like, nothing's happening. Everybody's miserable.
Although I did appreciate Kenny's answer, like that did feel like a little bit of fan service because that's been going on in the comments on every Reddit and comment board or whatever. Like, why is nobody asking these questions? Why is it like that? And Kenny's like, we used to ask ourselves those questions and we got no, like, he has a good point that
yes,
you ask those questions, you get no answers. What's the point? Give it up, move on. It did feel a little bit like, is it like it felt a little bit like being like, hey, don't focus on the wrong things, or maybe it's a red herring. But
I mean, Acosta was definitely abrupt and rude.
I hate her,
but I get what she's saying. Okay, so everybody's asked these questions. Why did you stop asking these questions? I mean, but then again, there's a trend. I mean, think about Jim. When Jim and Tabitha and the kids first got there, Jim was all about finding answers, figuring things out. I mean, he came up with that great idea for the radio tower. It did not work out the way he wanted it to, but he was trying, and even he's kind of, it's like, Jade's the only one I think that has consistently kept trying. Jade has not stopped. Everybody else kind of gets lethargic and just kind of like, okay, well, how do we survive? We'll worry about trying to get out of here later. Except for Jade. Jade continues to be like, no, we're going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. Somebody's going to figure this out.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I agree that it was one of the slower episodes and probably not the best one of the season. But I mean, I felt like a good bit happened, maybe not as much as normal. And there weren't tons of answers, but they have to move the story along too. And there was a lot, I felt like, character-wise, story-wise in this one. And as for Kenny and his explanation, I mean, I thought that was more like kind of at us, like you guys are, still asking and more aimed at the audience, because we do continue to ask all these, questions and they seem to be not answering them. But that being said, it is sort of set up. I mean, we will get answers, but I don't know. I didn't dislike it that much. I definitely did not dislike it as much as you did. And I think it went forward a lot with Fatima's storyline, even if maybe she's not, my favorite character of the group. There was a lot in her story. Actually, probably 75% of the episode was her story.
You think it went forward a lot? Really?
Yeah, well, I think the fact she killed Tilly was pretty big of a thing.
Okay, yeah. But in terms of her pregnancy has been like a nothing storyline, like nothing happening and nothing really happened. I mean, okay, last week they were like, you're not pregnant. But in terms of, okay, yeah, we saw like some. Okay, I'll hold what I think about that until we maybe get into more detail about those scenes with her. Okay, fair. There was some movement on Fatima, but in general, like we haven't really learned anything about anything, right? And there are a lot of characters who, I don't know, don't seem to give it anything. And then I have to wonder why they added like there are so many unpleasant people and we just killed a bunch of them, thank goodness. And now they put in another, like Acosta is like, I'm on the side of her being out of line and unpleasant and not a good addition. And I wanted to I read a comment on Eric Kane. So Eric Kane is the guy who writes for Forbes. And on his Facebook page, someone wrote, I haven't hated anybody this much since Joffrey Baratheon.
Oh, let's not go that far.
That's pretty far, right?
He's no Joffrey.
No, but Joffrey was a character that you loved to hate, and Acosta.
Oh, I didn't love to hate him.
No,
I didn't love to hate him.
You just hate.
I just wanted him gone.
Right. So maybe that was extreme,
Anyway.
but
Yes.
But there were other comment. Like there was another comment that Eric Kane made, which was, why did they feel the need to add another wholly unpleasant jackass of a person? Like we had Dale, we have Randall, we had Nikki, we have and then everybody else who used to be moderately normal is becoming, and I get it that the characters are nervous and they're scared and they're becoming irritable, but this is not irritability. This is like outright like I just don't know why. I agree.
Yeah,
Like, why
I get what you're saying.
need to add a wholly negative, really unpleasant antagonist? Except maybe they're going to kill her, and then we'll be, I just really feel like I spent an hour with people that I really don't like, and in my limited amount of television watching time
Victor.
I have, could I have one person that I'm rooting for? There's nobody that I'm rooting for on the show.
You're not rooting for Victor? I want the damn dummy to talk.
All right, Victor, but that's not rooting for Victor. That's
like
wanting
Victor,
an answer.
Kenny. Yes, a lot of people in this episode were bitching a lot. I do see that. There was a lot of yelling.
But I think that's kind of the theme and the point of this season.
Yeah.
I feel like it's intentional.
Right. To me, Jamie, they're not, as Jamie says, they're bitching a lot. They're not bitching.
No, they're more than bitching.
Unpleasant.
Yeah.
So beyond bitch, like bitching is like, oh my God, I hated this show. I'm bitching right now, right?
No, I mean characters. I didn't mean.
They are like far beyond just like bitching about something, these people.
No, I agree.
Wholly unpleasant. This is why I didn't watch Yellowstone, because after 5 episodes, I was like, freaking hate these people. I don't want to be around them.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, even, Boyd. I think
Boyd is losing his tether. He was definitely not so nice in this episode. I will agree.
Well, I mean, Boyd, it started as a conversation with Christy, and she's like, Boyd, I can't just I can't just make something happen. Like, he's like, well, do this, and she's like, I can't do that, and he's like, well, then do this. She's like, I can't do that, and he goes, then do your fucking job. Like, whoa, like
out of line, right?
Yeah, completely. Boyd, they're doing exactly, the monsters have accomplished exactly. They're not just trying to break Boyd by getting Boyd in the state that he's in. Who's supposed to control order when Boyd himself is out of order? Boyd is just as much out of line as everybody. Was Acosta a little over the top? Yes.
Wait, a little over the top. She was the most gigantic bitch ever on the show. She wasn't a little over the top. She was 100% out of line, and she. Do
you remember Jade in the beginning?
Yeah, Jade was
just as bad as she is now.
Acosta went after Kenny for like really no reason. I mean, Kenny was like, "Look, she
did say thank you for the tea." Even though she
didn't drink it. And then she didn't drink it.
I'll hold it till maybe you want to talk about her. How do you want to like structure this conversation?
Well, I don't know. I usually go in order, but you said you guys would rather talk about.
No. Last week that was making us like a little kooky. This week maybe let's talk. Okay, so let's talk about. Who do you want to talk about first? Let's talk
first about Fatima and at the beginning, because she was like a little hysterical. Let's start with that. She does not believe them that she's not pregnant. The thing is you would think that some of these people, with everything that's happened in this town, that maybe some of them would believe that there could be something else up. So I kind of get her frustration. I think everybody in this episode is kind of frustrated, which is true. But I definitely agree. What Boyd said to Christy was totally out of line. But I think everybody is just kind of like, they're not sure what to do because they don't know how to help her or how to calm her down. I think it's kind of the big.
I think the best conversation about Fatima was Donna and Boyd, and Donna makes a great point, and Boyd, of course, gets annoyed with her, and he's like, "Oh no, you're right." But there's two possibilities here, and neither possibility is good. No. Either there's something nefarious going on with her pregnancy, and she's a danger to people, as we see at the end, or she's batshit and she's a danger to people. So, I mean, that was a constructive conversation that they had about her. Mm-hmm. I think Donna should have pushed it a step further when Boyd's like, okay, I'll make room in the sheriff's station.
And she's like,
I think Donna should. I think she should have been. I think she should have, instead of saying, I don't mean this minute. I think she should have been like, okay, good, let's do it. Because as we see what happened later, my question is, did what we saw happen to her actually happen, or was it a manifestation?
I mean, I had that question also.
Before we get, I know we haven't gotten to this part of it yet, but I was just going to put up, we have Kelly in the chat who does agree that Acosta is horrible. So I guess people aren't liking Acosta either.
We will come back to that, Kelly. Let's
Yeah, we'll circle back to Acosta.
Yeah, we will.
I appreciate that, Fatima is a little bit like, why aren't you listening to me? And there's this part of a thing where, like, historically, women were discounted in talking about their health. There was a lot of like times that, in like the 1920s or even the 1880s, or I don't even know when, women could be diagnosed like with hysteria, and men who were all the doctors, like, didn't believe women. And there's this whole thing, a past history there. And I get that. And that Fatima's like, listen to me. I mean, I really don't think that she's like, I just know I'm pregnant. I've never been pregnant, so I don't really know that I can understand this. Like, I just know I'm pregnant. I just feel it. But I think it was Christy. Someone says, look, not that long ago, Boyd has worms in his skin that nobody could even see, right? Like, Boyd
it was actually Christy that said it.
Right?
I thought it was Miriam.
Yeah. And so could Fatima have like also a pregnancy that we can't see? Like, thank you, Christy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, Vanessa. We got Vanessa Wickeds in the chat now.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hello. Thank you guys for coming.
So I get that, right? I do think that Ellis was a little out of line, like being like, oh, like not believing her, but I also think he's a little out of his depth. I also don't really like Ellis. Like, I complain a lot about this episode. And in this episode, I realized, like, what is the point of Ellis except to impregnate Fatima? Like, he's had like for the last 3 years, he's had
I agree. No, I agree. Ellis is not my most favorite character. He's a nothing character. Yeah, he is not well developed out of everybody. He's not the best developed. He's always a side piece. Yeah. I mean, as far as he's pretty much been relegated to he's either Boyd's son or Fatima's husband. That's
true. Yeah. This season, definitely. I felt bad though that even he wouldn't believe her. Like, I feel like out of anybody.
Well, that's the thing. I think he did a really shitty job of, regardless of what he believes, he needs to be there for her, and he was not.
And she says too, like, when she's scared, she's like, if I'm not, I think she wants it to be that she's pregnant, because she's like, if I'm not pregnant, then it's me. Like, she knows if she's not pregnant, there's something else wrong, which could be much, much worse.
And also, like, if you live in Fromville, why would you not always believe everyone that they either had a hallucination or experienced it, but a hallucination could be a real thing? Like, you live in a place where monsters come out every single night and eat people, and all this other crazy shit happens, and you're like, no, Fatima, you're eating, I don't know why you're eating garbage. You're just crazy, right? Like, what? Like, all this crazy stuff happens all the time, but they're not going to believe her on this.
I just thought of something really funny. And this is why nobody shares conversations.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you do, you're told you're crazy.
To each other, and that's a lot of times why I think is the problem. But I do, and I thought it was Marielle that said that stuff, but
maybe it was.
You had said how whoever brought it up, that she, about the worms, it's like she says that, and yet nobody listens to that. And well, I mean, the audience is listening.
Not even Boyd.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Not even Boyd. Not even Boyd is like, oh, guess what? Remember the giant worms under my skin? Right.
And the other thing is that Boyd gave, because I've seen people comment on this too. Boyd had the worms. Do we really know they were completely gone when he transferred them out of him? Because he gave his blood to Ellis. So for all we know, it could be something to do with that. He gave the blood to Ellis, and then Ellis slept with her.
That's
good. That's good.
That's not my thoughts. I saw somebody said that. I can't take credit for that. I don't.
Well, whoever said it, that's a very interesting thought.
But yeah, I mean, so I think that they ought to listen to her. And as for what you asked, do you think that was a hallucination or a manifestation or whatever? I tend to believe that that's something that happened to her. I mean, I don't know what it is that's happening to her, but I don't think she imagined it. I think that's part of the problem is people were saying she's imagining it.
No, that did
not. It did quit when he came in. So
that's always the problem. The problem too is we have a lot of very unreliable narrators.
Yes.
And Fatima is definitely an unreliable narrator right now. So we don't know which side of things this is on.
I mean, so I wanted to go back for a second. I do think Fatima was out of the line, over the top, out of control when she was like, first of all, she's like, no, I just want to go home. And then she's like screaming at everybody. She was really like
She was
in
freaking out.
this episode. It's not freaking out. It's over the top, out of the line, out of control, unstable, rude, and mean, and unpleasant to everyone. She was really, and then everyone was out of control in this episode. I don't think this really happened to her. You cannot be alive. That cannot happen to you, and you are alive. That is, she believed it happened to her. She experienced it like as part of her mind or whatever, but you cannot have no organs in your entire torso and continue to live. I'm sorry.
Maybe they just shrunk them really small.
I guess that's true.
Well, that's what I'm saying. All right, let me put it this way. See, I think she experienced it, but I think it's kind of like the cicadas.
Yeah.
How, like when we see the cicadas with
Like it's happening, but it's not necessarily what
Randall later. I think it's happening, but not to where anybody else can see it, or So I feel like she's experienced it and she felt it, but I don't think it physically actually happened to her.
Right. Kind of like I'm not saying she was dreaming. I don't believe she was dreaming, but in a dream, this could happen to you and you'd be like, holy shit, how am I still alive or whatever, right? Yeah. You cannot, she's hollowed out down to her spine, right? It's not a possibility that you could live for even 10, I don't know how long, but
be able to breathe.
I think, so I'm with you there, that she experienced it as a horrifying and terrifying thing, but are we not in a dimension of reality, or is it in her mind, or she was to believe it? No one witnessed it. No one saw it, right? So
and it ended as soon as Ellis came in.
Let me cut in really quick, please, because Vanessa's asking us to introduce ourselves because she missed the beginning.
Okay.
So we know we're talking. I'm Jamie.
I'm Karen.
And I'm AJ.
Yay, for people who don't know us.
And we're all from Sci-Fivision, and we do this Fandom Access podcast every Tuesday.
Yep, every Tuesday, starting at 9, at least while From's on. We might go back to 10. We haven't decided yet, but we're at 9.
We're going back to 10 after From.
What I kind of wondered with this, and I wondered if it was more, I don't know, I think something's happening. Like you said, is she literally have no organs? Maybe not. But I kind of wondered if it was metaphorically to do with, we see what happened when they killed the creature, right? When they killed Smiley, we see that they're all desiccated inside. And they have no water in their organs, whatever you want to call it. I kind of wondered if, because people, now whether or not she's turning into a monster or not, I know a lot of people think she's turning into a monster. I'm not saying that, but whether she's turning into the monster or something is acting like that, I kind of wondered if it was sort of representing that whatever is inside her is not eating her exactly, but using her and maybe emptying her out. I don't know. That's kind of the way I took it, if that made sense, the way I explained it.
That's interesting. You're making me think. So anybody who's been listening for the last several weeks has heard me and us talk about my theory that stuff you say out loud comes true. And last week, when she had the ultrasound, Carrie and Marielle were kind of we don't see anything. There's nothing there. You're not just you're not pregnant, but I think they might have said oh, we don't see anything. Oh, there's no. So is this look, there's nothing there in this picture, right? Is that, is she experiencing what they, I'd have to go back and see exactly what they said, but I think someone was yeah, we don't see anything. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is she experiencing that? Is she manifesting what they said? There's there's nothing. That her belly is gone, right?
Sure. Yeah. It is a cool effect, though. Either way, I think they did a good job with it, regardless of what it's supposed to mean. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So if we're gonna just follow this through, so the next thing that happens is Ellis does a totally dumb. Ellis goes down to the clinic and steals a bunch of drugs out of the cabinet, right? And I really did not like this scene. It seemed kind of dumb to me. First of all, Ellis has never been positioned as the guy that goes down and robs the store. Second of all, weren't the drugs previously being locked up? And third of all, Ellis, what do you know about he if I went in the cabinet, you guys, I don't know that I could read prescription bottles and tell an antipsychotic from a cold. And yet he somehow has grabbed all the antipsychotics that he's just going to give her without even knowing what the hell what even was that about, you guys?
I have a comment, a theory, whatever, however you want to say it on this, because we talked about this on the other show. I think that part of it is because of what happened to his mother. I think that Ellis is afraid to do nothing because when Boyd did nothing and Boyd wouldn't listen, his mother went completely.
Did Boyd do nothing? Did Boyd do nothing?
No, he wouldn't listen to Ellis when Ellis tried to say, hey, something's wrong. And I feel like Ellis doesn't know what to do. He wants to do something. He wants to calm her down, whether it's the right answer or not. I feel like he's struggling to do something because I wonder if, whether this happens or not, I don't know. But I kind of wonder if they're trying to position it to parallel that story that maybe eventually Ellis might have to kill Fatima to save people, just like Boyd had to kill his own wife.
That would be interesting.
Where I see it going.
That'd be interesting, but I feel like maybe people might be letting him off the hook too much. That he has to do something. So let's just go grab all the drugs downstairs. What the hell, right? Like that. Yeah. And then he's like very threatening and mean to Christy and whatever. And she's like, "What are you doing? Like these are antipsychotics. You just give them to her, right? Like what? Like it just made no sense as a plan, as not a plan, it just seemed to. I mean, it's a very selfish move because they need those drugs and he's like, oh, the Amazon's full of drugs. And I don't know, the whole thing was crazy. Am I the only person that I was really like, Ellis, what the hell? You're also out of control and crazy.
I thought he was being an idiot, that's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely don't think, that's why I said I definitely don't think it was a good decision. But yeah, I mean, I think that he's trying, that's why I said I think he's trying to do something.
I think it was a poorly written decision. I think like, do I ascribe this to Ellis or do I ascribe it to the writers? And I think the writers in this episode wrote a bunch of people into a type of hysteria that doesn't seem realistic to me. Not that monsters coming out the woods is realistic, and I get that, right? But
I know what you're saying.
It's not something you think he would do.
I feel like I do feel it makes sense. It's been a progression, and like we just said, Ellis has been kind of a nothing character this season. So
yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to go through some of the other stuff and then jump back to their storyline, or do you want to just finish their storyline?
Whatever you want to follow them through.
I was going to say we just follow them through and then we'll go to another.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, let's see.
All right. So after this, she starts to feel better, and she goes and has a little convo with her friend. Brings her a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a good scene, actually. I thought like. This kind of bothered me. Like the whole, Tilly has been becoming a little more interesting, and there's so much fan speculation about Tilly. And she brings the cup of tea. Although I guess the fact that how many times has Tilly mentioned that she's dying of cancer? Like, I mean, I guess I should have seen this as foreshadowing from the day she showed up on the show.
Yeah.
But Tilly brings the cup of tea and she's like, I've got your back. I'm your biggest supporter, blah, blah, blah. And the tea makes our friend feel well enough to, let's go eat some trash, right? She goes back.
No, wait, you think the tea did that, or you just?
No, I mean, the tea, the conversation, whatever. I'm not saying that Tilly gave her a dose that made her feel better. I'm just saying she began to feel better after talking to this supportive person. Having a little cup of tea always makes you feel better. I'm not saying that it was a magical thing that made her feel better. I just think maybe talking to a sympathetic person made her feel better.
Yeah. What do you think about her conversation with Ellis? Because she had quite a long conversation with Ellis, and he's like, why do you care? And she's like, finally, it was just I like a good love story, but she's trying to help. She gives him kind of this whole speech with, saying that nobody lives forever and not to, grieve her before she's gone and all that. I mean, I think she gave some good advice, but a lot of people are, even though she's dead, a lot of people are still sus on her. So,
I mean, I guess I thought that could have been going somewhere right up until the moment where it's not going somewhere anymore. But again, maybe the fact of her saying nobody lives to get forever out loud, brings it on her, right? This is becoming a place where anything you say that's remotely Like you wouldn't want to stand next to a cliff and be like, "Oh, I hope I don't fall off that cliff," because you would definitely.
Yeah, if you're right with your manifestation theory, then that's completely true.
It was a good conversation, and she has been becoming a better. So Colony House is a total shit show. Everyone's a nut job up there. No one talks to each other, and Tilly was looking like maybe a creepy but reasonable
Tilly was becoming an interesting character.
presence up there, right?
Yeah.
Right up until our friend, what's her name, Fatima, decides to go eat some more trash. Which, how long is that trash? If you know your wife is eating trash, take out the trash.
I think that's the composting pile, I'm guessing.
It is the compost pile.
Yeah. So do you think, because I think it was kind of left to be unclear whether it was like you see on a lot of shows where like somebody's busy yelling and then like turns around and like not really doing it on purpose, or do you think something forced her to do it? Because I don't know that she wanted to do it, but I don't know that it was an accident either. So how do you feel about that?
Here's the shot. AJ, what did you think?
I think she's out of control. I think she's so frazzled and rattled, and she's out of control. I don't think anything made her stab her. I think it was a reactionary thing that she did. I don't think she meant to do it, but in her, in her moment of anger, she lashed out, and Tilly took the brunt of it.
I agree. I don't think she really meant to kill anyone. I don't think she was possessed the way Sarah was. Was Sarah possessed? Was Sarah talked into it? It wasn't like a Sarah situation.
Nothing.
No. Sarah was talking first. That was different.
Yeah, but I think that she. 1 second, Jamie. I think that she. She says earlier in the episode, she's, "I feel so angry all the time," and I think she's angry. She's skittish. She's weirded out, and I mean, I don't know that I would say Tilly startled her, but you could read that scene as Tilly snuck up and startled her, and she just grabbed it and whirled around, and boom! In that sense, is it an accident? It's not an accident. It's definitely. I mean, it's worse that so Acosta shooting, what's her name? Nikki.
Nikki.
Was truly an accident. This is the next step. Like she grabbed that shears and like it wasn't even in her hand. Like when Dale stabbed Ellis, he was chopping like broccoli or whatever, and the knife was in his hand, and it was like more like an accident, right? But Colony House is becoming a place like a dangerous place to live.
So it's like somewhere between murder and an accident, is what you're saying.
I mean, would the courts call this a thing like involuntary manslaughter, maybe, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you then, just kind of expounding on what you're saying. We've heard in this episode, and I forget how many times they say it, but they say it multiple times, that it's either something's there and we can't see that she's pregnant, or the place broke her. So it sounds like you both are saying you don't think that there's either she's turning into something or there's like she's pregnant or something. Like you both sound like you just think she's nuts now. Is that accurate?
No.
Or am I talking wrong?
No.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know if you felt, because I still think something else is going on. I think that if it was all in her head, it would be kind of boring for the show.
There's definitely something going on, but this action here that we're talking about is her. Nothing made her grab it.
Okay, that's
nothing. It's because of whatever's going on with her that she's on such edge and she reacted the way she did. But again, it's more than an accident.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Tilly after tells her to run. I guess she doesn't blame her, regardless. It's sort of the way that that you can take that she wants her to get away.
Maybe,
but
I have a few theories there.
I don't know. That was kind of what I thought. Do you think something different? Because so far that's what everybody's agreed with me. What do you think happened there? Then what do you think?
I think 2 or 3 things could be going on there. When Tilly says you have to run, it could be Tilly just being like, "Oh my God, you killed me. You should run." I mean, where can you run? You can't leave. Where can you run? Right?
Wood.
it
Yeah,
could be
go into the woods and be killed by something else. That's helpful.
and it could be Tilly saying like, I understand it's not your fault, you have to run, but where should you run? It could be in her moment of death, there is the town or some other presence saying you have to run to escalate the situation. I don't think that running will go in her favor when the town decides what to do with her, right? She does scream. She does scream, help, help, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ellis looks at her like, what did you do? Like, I don't even think he thinks that it wasn't her fault.
No, I don't. But it could be that Tilly was like, oh, you should run because I know you didn't mean it. It could be the town speaking, like, dead people. Like, I don't know. It could be it's all unreliable. It could be Fatima's like weirded out brain thinking she hears Tilly saying that. Although I'm not sure I always believe that. I'm not sure that the unreliability of everyone, I'm not sure where I fall on that yet, or that it's all equal. Right?
No.
What do you think? And what do the commenters think, Jamie?
Sorry, what?
Well, I wonder what AJ thinks, and I wonder what Jamie thinks, and also what you've discussed with other people and what you've read.
Okay. Go ahead, AJ.
I took it straightforward. I took it straightforward as Tilly saying, "You just killed me. You need to run." I took it very straightforward. I didn't go too deeper with it.
That's right. Yeah. I took it that she meant to run, but I took it more that she's kind of like knew she didn't mean to, and she's like, they're going to come after you if you don't run. Like she was trying to help her.
I guess.
Not anybody in particular, but just, get out of here before they find out what you did type of thing.
I guess.
And that's what kind of, it seemed like the people that I was talking to on Sunday came to the conclusion to as well. That's why I was surprised you saw something different. But I kind of like, your idea too, that it could be she heard it. It could be coming from something else. I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't heard any other theories on that. Do you think that there's a chance she had an idea that something was going to happen? Because we also discussed this idea of she had the tarot cards and everything, and she keeps talking about her own death as well, and that maybe she foresaw something was going to happen, and she doesn't want it to hurt Fatima type of thing. So as long as it's her, she knows she's going to die anyway type of thing. We had discussed that idea on Sunday too.
That's
I think Tilly's dead. We'll never know.
Well, and I think we'll never know anyway, because people have hallucinations in this town. They don't talk to each other. Could there be people experiencing tons of stuff that we just never see and never know about? Right.
Yeah,
maybe. But Tilly seems to have been a death foretold in a sense. She spoke many times of her own impending death. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that Tilly, while she wouldn't want to die this way, I wouldn't want to die a slow death of cancer in Fromville with no medication.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm not saying she welcomed this or asked for it. It's horrible. Look at her face. It's horrible, but
I'm sure it hurt a lot.
Well, that's the look of shock.
Hi, humor. Welcome. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people still think that something's up with Tilly. I don't know that I think that, but I've heard that a lot of people are still suspicious about Tilly. I think she's dead, and I think that's the end of it.
A lot of people think she was a plant for the town, that she wasn't a real person in the first place, that she was,
Yeah.
I think that. I was so who was surprised? I was very surprised. I thought
I was definitely surprised.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Tilly was definitely surprised.
Yeah, Tilly was surprised, and Fatima was surprised.
Well, we all thought Tilly was working up to be a character with some significance, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And then, boom, she's gone. I do appreciate, there's a lot of people, and I think we need a massacre. I've said this before, there's a lot of characters, a lot of speaking characters, a lot of them are going nowhere, and is it time to winnow down the cast a little bit?
Yeah. I agree. I particularly don't want people to die. I like them. I know you don't right now, which is okay.
I hate them all.
I do feel like the ensemble is way too big. Well, I like most of them. There's some people I maybe wouldn't care, but
you think that's too many people to be?
I'm talking about the main.
Well,
red shirt.
I know.
There are a lot of people, but how, when you look at our speaking lines, main characters that we learn about every week
Yeah.
compared to there's a lot of red shirts.
It's still like
Well,
10 people.
The
There's a
issue
lot of-
is, and I think why people are getting frustrated is a lot of the storylines they're not really touching on, just like Victor and Henry, right? They brought up Jasper for like a minute, but they didn't do anything with it because they didn't have time.
Well, since we have
And I
3 more
feel like
episodes.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is going to be very important.
One, because there's too many people.
I don't know, man. I mean, Jasper, yes, but to me, this season has not really gone anywhere in terms of like what's.
No, I agree. It's definitely been slower.
It's a buildup. Give it time. But no, I get that. This one was a fairly slower episode.
Yeah.
Now let's go back and let's talk about Elgin, because that's one of the other main storylines in this episode, obviously, is Elgin seeing the kimono woman still. I think we all have come to the conclusion, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think both of you also agree that she's not good at any rate.
I don't know what to think. I haven't made a decision.
You haven't made a decision? Okay.
I don't think we have enough information. I mean, it's a guess whether she's good or bad.
I think, I mean, we can talk about what happened, but I think by the end of this episode, to me, it looks clear that Elgin is perhaps no longer afraid of her. I mean, here he's afraid of her. But
Yes,
I think by the time he comes out of the root, he goes in the root cellar and all, and he speaks to her
again.
He seems to not be afraid of her anymore. And I might be coming around to the idea that Kimono Lady, like, legit wants his help. Like, she's not the same as the Ankui kids, but I think I might be starting to believe that she really is asking for help in a genuine way and not like, help me so I can kill you.
Well, obviously, we don't have any.
I'm coming around.
We don't have any complete information, but I mean, you know, was that her body that he finds in the root cellar? Does she look the way she looks? Because
that was a man with a beard, AJ.
Yeah, it was
beard.
It had a
beard,
but
it was a
how
man.
does a skeleton have a beard?
Yeah,
I missed the beard.
I must have missed that. I think because of the fact she said at the beginning, I can help everybody get home. It makes me think it's more likely like a Sarah situation. That was kind of my thoughts. But yeah, I never really thought about the fact she could be like the Ankui kids. So maybe, I don't know. But
I mean,
go ahead, AJ.
The thing is, she looks like somebody that was, you know, that's why I was wondering if she was, you know, died in that cellar also, because she looks like somebody that's like just slowly drifting away because, you know, malnutrition, you know, because she's stuck somewhere with no food, you know.
Well, you know what? That wasn't her body, but that doesn't mean she didn't die there. Yeah. I mean, that's the second body we've seen different. That's not the same body that Jade saw down there. Jade saw a body down there.
No, Jade saw a guy under a rock.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know, but that place doesn't look too pleasant.
No, it doesn't.
But you know, Elgin, I mean, he sees the picture. When that camera took a picture by itself, I was like, oh no, here we go. And he follows it, and it's a picture of the root cellar, right? He follows it out to the root cellar.
If you followed it by yourself, like, why not take somebody, right?
Because it's from Bill. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous,
nobody tells
right?
anybody.
Because-
You're right with that.
Because the one person he would probably take with him was on a different adventure. Julie was with Randall.
Yeah, or he might, or he has been friendly with Tilly. He might take Tilly. He might take Julie. Yeah. He goes by himself, which is ridiculous. But somewhere in between there, like he goes down there with, he goes down there with Kimono Lady. And when he sees the body, he says to her, so I'm not sure what he said. He either said, is this where it happens? Or is this where it happened?
No, he says present tense. Is this where
he says where it happens? Yeah. And he seemed like not afraid of her. And he seemed like he might have actually had a clue. And I felt really ripped off that he had never spoken to anybody or had anybody with him or anything, right? Like, when is that? Are you ever going to tell anyone? What's going to come out about this?
Well, to be fair, if he had gone down there with somebody and Kimono Lady shows up and he says that, they're going to be like, who the fuck are you talking to?
Well, nobody's Nobody sees it, but so many people see people. Like, could they? We all talk about Jade sees people, he sees people, Julie, right? It was I mean, this is an advancement in the story in the sense that Elgin's not afraid anymore. I think Elgin, I've said this before, I think Elgin is a key character to the solution of what's going on. And I think he's, we've talked about this. If you believe people are chosen, and Jade, I felt really good. We're going to talk about this later, but when Jade talked about, oh, Tabitha, were you always meant to come here? Were you chosen to come here? I was like, yes, because they're candidates. And it makes me, I think Elgin is a person who was chosen to come to this town, right? He was called there as as 5 or 6 other people were, right?
Well, we kind of briefly discussed this last week. Like, so just for argument's sake, was Elgin chosen to come here? And because he was on the bus, all those other people ended up coming with him. They're not necessarily chosen, but because Elgin was on that bus, all those people are there now too. Jim and the kids have zero importance, but because Tabitha's important and she was with them, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Before we move on from this, the only thing I want to say is, and I know you guys don't delve as deep into it, but the only thing that anybody can figure out yet is that body does seem to be wearing the same shirt as Jade. Although, as I've said multiple times, though, these people share clothes, so I don't know that necessarily means anything.
Oh, and it had a beard. Do you think it's future Jade?
Did it have a beard? See, I'd have to look at the body. I don't remember a beard.
I don't remember skeletons having beards.
What?
I said I've never seen a skeleton with a beard.
I don't know about the beard, but Jade
it wasn't a skeleton. It was a desiccated body with clothes and a little. It was mostly a skeleton, but it was a body. Yeah. Yes, AJ, in your grave, your beard will probably fall out at some point, but I think it had a beard.
I'm going to look now.
Well, Jade has a beard, though, to be fair.
Yes, Jade has a beard. So
Jade has a beard. But I don't know. I mean, I hope it's not Jade unless it's like some weird alternate dimension or time travel shit.
Or a vision of the future.
Or a vision of the future, yeah.
I guess that's where it happens. This is what happens. This is where Jade dies. I don't know. Where anything happens, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is it future anyone? I kind of assumed, it's funny because I had until this moment assumed it was a person who died in the past because Jade has seen Civil War soldiers and people who are dressed like the past, and we've seen dead Tom and dead Father Khatri. I kind of assumed that everyone you see is from the past, but could it be a vision of somebody being dead in the future?
Well, I didn't think that was a vision. I think he found a body.
I think the body was real, but that was how I took it.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. As I said, I just thought of it this moment. I didn't think it last night when I saw it.
Yeah. I don't know. We discussed it. It does look like his clothes. Not that necessarily means it's him, but it looks like his clothes.
I mean, Elgin is one of the very few people I don't hate right now. But I commented earlier that on a different page that I feel Elgin is a cipher. He's like a nothing.
Right. Karen, you win.
It had a beard, right?
There was a beard.
Can you say it again? Can you say Karen, you win for everyone to hear it?
Karen, you win.
To me, Elgin is a cipher. He's a blank slate. He's developed in the sense that I understand him as a sweet person and a friendly person and whatever, but he's pretty underdeveloped and experienced talking to other characters. And so while he's somebody that I guess I like him. I hate almost everyone on the show. But I wish I had there was a little more there for me to really get behind him as a guy I can root for,
right.
Yeah. I know I'm a negative Nancy tonight.
That's okay.
It's all right.
Sorry wait. I apologize to anybody who's named Nancy because my name is Karen and I hate internet assholes making fun of my name. And I want to apologize to everyone in the world right now who's named Nancy.
It's okay. Now, I want to talk about, we didn't really talk much about it. I did want to really quick talk about the conversation that Acosta has with Boyd. I actually like that scene. Because I feel like as much as they're screaming at each other, and I mean, I think Acosta does deserve a lot of it in this scene. Don't get me wrong. I think it's funny that Boyd is kind of like, you want your gun? Here's your damn gun. and then he takes the bullets. Like, it doesn't no good.
You know,
She got
I
what
was
she got
no.
for.
But before he, like, as soon as she started asking for her gun, I'm thinking, just give her her gun, take the bullets, and then he does it.
Really,
I gotta say, I know you really don't like her. I gotta say though, I'm surprised she didn't throw a hissy fit about the bullets. I'm surprised she wasn't like, well, what am I supposed to do with this without the bullets? Or I think I would have appreciated, you know, or she was like, all right, respect, you gave me the gun, I asked for it, okay, yeah, I didn't specify the, you know, kind of like, but yeah, no, she is.
You know, I was thinking of, do you remember 2 weeks ago, Jamie, we had the actress who plays Acosta is named, I want to say Sarah Simon. What's her name?
Sarah Brown.
Sarah Brown was on with us.
Samantha
Brown.
Samantha.
Was on with us. Thank you. Sorry, but you know, I have elections in the background distracting me.
Okay.
And she was on, and we talked about Acosta, and I in particular speculated that Acosta could be a good deputy for Boyd, a good partner for Boyd, could supplant Boyd as the sheriff, and she, in this episode, turned out to be a very bad addition to the town so far. And she's very, I mean, look, Boyd is out of line too. She went to 100 and Boyd went to 100. And Boyd has been very angry at her for killing someone. Look, we all agree it was an accident. Acosta did not intend to kill Nikki. Right. It was an accident. She didn't mean it. And Boyd is like over the top blaming her. But Boyd is not wrong that guns are dangerous in this town, and look, you can't kill the monsters with a gun anyway. So what do you need a gun for, right?
Well, they banished
which begs the question: why does Boyd need one then? Just for argument.
Boyd uses his gun. Boyd uses his gun like when Randall was going to steal the goat. He's like, "Don't make me shoot you, Randall." Boyd uses the gun to enforce rules in the town once in a while, right? Mm-hmm. It's his source of authority when his personality is not enough. Acosta hasn't earned that.
But here's the thing. Does anybody think Boyd is actually going to shoot them? Like Randall with the goat?
Yes. Oh, yeah. He shot his own wife, AJ. He will shoot someone if he has to.
That's a good point.
He shot his wife.
She was crazy.
Everybody's crazy. Do you think
Randall was just trying to steal a goat?
AJ, you stand in that town, you watch Boyd shoot his wife. Do you not think he would shoot you if he had to? He almost was going to have to shoot Dale in the head also until he died, right? Of course,
that was different. That was a mercy kill.
Oh, so, Boyd will shoot you absolutely if he thinks he has to.
He could have shot Sarah numerous times, didn't shoot her.
He didn't think he had to. He let her go because he thought he could control her other ways, or she wasn't a risk, and she's not a risk.
No,
he's right about Sarah.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he had to, he would. I don't think he's been pushed to that point.
All right, well, here's my point. Do I think he's all right? So Randall steals the goat, says, "Screw you, Boyd. You're not going to shoot me," and he shoots him in the leg. Now you've got to tend to his leg. You saved the goat, but now you got to tend to his leg.
If you care, yes, fair enough.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's more trouble than it's worth, in other words.
Exactly. That's kind of my point. That's exactly my point.
Well, I don't know, but they banished Randall to the bus because he wanted to keep his gun. I mean, he could have even given it to her and said, "Then you're not going to stay with us in town."
Yeah, go on the bus. Randall's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Go on the bus. But she was...
I think the biggest problem with Acosta, I think, is, first of all, it's her personality, because she was the same way before coming to Frontville. She was the same way with Tabitha.
She's also really short with Kenny too. So
getting the bus, getting the. She was really not nice to Tabitha.
Yeah, and I think part of that. I think part of that is like Boyd just said. She's like, that was I couldn't stop laughing actually at that scene, because she looked like she was having trouble getting her badge out of her pocket.
Yeah.
And she was like, "See, I'm a real police officer," and he's like, "What, for 3 days? Like, how long have you been out of the academy?" You know?
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem right there.
And
she's a rookie.
She didn't answer.
Yeah.
When he said, "Oh, would you been a cop for 3 days?" She wouldn't
Well, that's
answer.
the thing.
right?
That's it. She's a rookie. She's a noob.
Well,
You know.
he made himself cop, so there's a little bit
No,
difference
did
there.
he make
And he's
himself-
right? He hasn't kept them alive. So
Jamie, I'm gonna say we don't really know that. You say he made himself the cop, but did he? I feel like he might be in the
Sheriff
Jack's
is an elected position.
I
I
feel
thought
like
he said he was retired
No,
from the
no.
army.
I feel like he's in the Jack situation on Lost, where he was like, "Don't make me the leader, don't make me the leader, but please let me tell you what to do." And he sort of became the leader through his own personality and also.
I know they wanted him to be the leader. I didn't mean it in that sense. I just meant before he wasn't a cop. She's right about that.
No.
Okay, but so what? You're a cop for 12 seconds. You don't know anything about this. Is like she might as well be she's a cop who is basically on Mars right now, right? Like, what does she know about anything? And her conversation with Kenny. So I thought she was really out of control and over the top. I did read a bunch of people on the internet who were like, look, Kenny was a little condescending. Kenny was like, oh, you'll get over it. Oh, you'll learn. Oh, we've been here a long time. And could that be frustrating for a new person? Yeah. Do you remember in season 1 where they had a whole protocol for new people?
Yeah, they kind of threw that out the window.
Yeah. And Acosta's a person who needs that protocol, right? Like, she's
that's a good point.
She's like, I'm not going to give up. You've given up.
You know what? I tell you what. I think that protocol would not work very well with Acosta.
Part of the protocol involved restraints on the bed if necessary.
Exactly. Right? That's exactly where I was going with that. I think that would make things even worse.
I think it would piss her off even more.
I don't think she as the scenes progressed, as she got to Boyd, she definitely went over the top. I don't think she was that over the top with Penny.
I don't think she was trying to be as mean to Kenny. I think she was nasty and it came off being bitchy, but I don't know that it was intentional. I think she's just so frustrated. She's like, why the hell is nobody trying to figure this out?
Why is she so frustrated? She's been there for 2 seconds. She doesn't even know. And so we've never seen her speak to anyone ever except for the town meeting. What is she trying to figure out? What does she know? Why does she think they've given up? What does she think like? I don't understand her. I think she made a lot of assumptions about the people in the town. And you know, there's that moment where she's like, oh, both your parents died. And Kenny's like, yeah. And I think maybe it hasn't occurred to her the trauma these people have been through. To be
fair, there's another side to this coin. Henry is kind of the same way, but obviously he's not as volatile as Acosta. But I mean, his first day in Fromville, he goes, where's the motel? He's like, there's a motel sign, but where's the motel? Has anybody ever wondered where the motel? You know what I mean? Like, he had the same type of things.
Well, and she said, why does the police station look like a post office? I don't know, because it's fan service. That's why.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. I do think some of Kenny's conversation was trolling the fans. I do think that, which is why I guess it didn't bother me as much as it did you.
I mean, I do think some of that could be going to, if you believe the theory that Victor created a lot of this in it, like this came out of Victor's mind, then as we discussed last week, like a motel sign with no motel, or a police station that looks like a post office, would that be because Victor's 7-year-old mind, like, right? If you believe that the theory that Victor created this place and somehow blooped them all there. I'm not saying I do. I'm not saying it's a well-regarded fan theory, but it's a fan theory, right? That's out there.
Yeah, I thought that up until this season, and then I kind of was like, no, that doesn't make sense. So I don't know if people,
I do think that for the people who were like, oh, Kenny was so condescending to Acosta, he's like, you'll get over it. By the same token, I think Acosta was very condescending to Kenny. He was like, I can't believe you've given up. I'm the one. I'm going to solve it. She was very like Jim season 1. Remember how much he wanted to punch him in the face in season 1? He's like, I'm going to figure it out. And this is he and Randall are all like, in season 2, this is a scam and the government's in on it. And we're like, shut up. That's how Acosta is right now. But I really looked forward to her as a cool character. And now I look forward to her being killed by monsters.
Well, it's like, I mean, she could come around still.
Yeah, she can come around. Jade was annoying at the beginning and
I wanted to smack Jade constantly.
I just want to say before we get too far off, I was going to say about Acosta because a lot of people have brought this up. when she did flash her badge. I know you guys probably remember when we asked Samantha, she wouldn't tell us her character's first name. Apparently, you cannot tell in the screenshot either, so they are not telling us her name on purpose.
Why though?
I don't know. There's some theories going around, which I think actually kind of makes some weird sense that maybe she's Eloise, and I don't know, but it
That
seems
makes
like
no
there has to be a reason they wouldn't tell us. Well, I don't know. I kind of wondered if it was possible that Eloise didn't die. Eloise got out of the town, and she was little when she grew up, in a foster family or whatever, changed her name. I don't know. Something.
She's too young.
I mean, don't know how much. Yeah,
there's a theory. There's a theory that Tabitha is Eloise and she's too young.
Well, Tabitha we've seen as a child, and it's not the same actress.
But my point is, either way, they're both too young.
Yeah, she probably would be too young. Tabitha maybe not, but Tabitha doesn't make sense.
Tabitha's definitely too. Think about it.
To be Eloise, you got to be like Donna's age.
Well, how old? I forget. Victor's supposed to be like in his late 40s, I guess. So yeah, they would be too young. But Victor is not supposed to be as old as he looks. He's supposed to have had like a hard time or whatever. Because I know he's
really
not as old as a lot of people seem to think.
So in his late 40s, he's only been there for 30 years.
He's been there for 40 years.
All right, so since he's like
okay,
80?
and he was how old when he got there? Like 10. So Victor's like 50.
Well, that's why I said late 40s. I don't think he was quite 10.
So
I don't know.
Eloise was like 8, so she'd be like 48.
You're right.
Yeah.
She's definitely too young for that. I'm just telling you what I've seen. And I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some kind of time travel element to it. I don't know. It's just, there has to be a reason they don't want us to know her name unless they're doing it just to be like, they want us to try to figure it out and then find out we're wrong. I don't know.
I think that this is maybe trolling fans and making them read too much into it. I predict her not making it out of the end of the season.
Shall see. All right. So what else?
Let's talk about Jade and Company, because that's the other
important storyline.
So we have there's two other things that happen. So where are all my pictures? Let's talk about a bunch of my pictures went away, huh? I had a bunch of pictures of our little happy family going out. Oh yeah, let's go on. No.
We got to talk about them yet. We didn't talk about that.
Let's talk about Randall. And Julie.
Yeah. I really like the scene where Julie's like, "Do you want company?" No. Okay, I'm gonna go get my bag because she's like,
"No, I'm gonna drop off my bag."
Or whatever she said. Go drop off my bag. Whatever she said. I like that. I thought that was cute. And I like how he's kind of like taking a big brother role and he's trying to maybe help her a bit, but obviously it does not go as planned. I think my biggest question in these scenes when they go in the car is there a reason why Julie does not see the cicadas? Because she had the same thing happen to her. Is this because of whatever happened to him when he was left during, earlier in the season with the monsters? Are they doing something else? Or, I mean, it could also be Marielle made this point of like, that she doesn't get so upset because she knows the fear can't hurt her. And we talk about, the manifestation.
Right. I think there's certain things about what happened to them that affects them all differently. With him, it was the cicadas. With Julie, it's the voices in her head.
That's true.
Which is why she's always getting high.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to agree with AJ that I think the three of them are each experiencing the follow-up differently. And we just haven't seen what those two are doing. We only see Randall with cicadas. I don't know.
Now, here's my $1 million question.
Yeah.
So the last time we see these two, they are right there by the tower there.
That's not the tower. That's the ruins. Isn't that the ruins of the dungeon where Boyd got the worms?
Yes, but that's where they were too.
That's where they were chained up. That's where they were chained up. And that's why they feel the buzz, right?
But that's the tower.
Well,
the tower is where
I think that's where Boyd.
It's
It's
that's
the same
where
place.
Boyd got the worms. Yeah.
Yes.
But we don't know without a torch. We don't know if they can actually get where he was.
My point is that's what I was kind of getting at though. I see Julie coming back here.
Yes, because
on
she's
her
stupid.
own.
Yes. She was like, let's stay, let's hang out. And Randall's like, no,
Yeah.
let's get out of here.
And Randall's like, let's get the
When
hell out of here.
Listen, when Randall says please very politely, I think it means you need to listen because he's never polite. And he's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's Anta saying, as we said, they were chained up there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true too. I believe that is the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's what I said.
Jamie,
Oh, I thought you were talking about Boyd.
Jamie, doesn't it remind you of that place in Winona Earp where they went out into the woods and there was that like
Staircase?
Yeah, the staircase.
Yeah, it does kind of. You're right, it does. I hadn't even thought about that. Right, it does.
But I mean, that's why Julie and Randall both feel something there, because that's where they were chained up and had this very whatever experience we don't really know much about, right?
And it makes Randall say, let's get the hell out of here. And it makes her say, ooh, I want to investigate some more.
I think you're right, Jamie. When Randall says please, you're like, oh, let's get out of here.
Yeah, there's got to be something messed up.
Yeah.
I was kind of glad to see this. I thought finally their story is going that's going somewhere. Like that happened last year. Nothing's happened with it except for Randall and some cicadas the last 2 episodes. And I was glad to see that be revisited and maybe be going to somewhere, because this whole season has been a lot of new threads and no sign of them being tied up anytime yet, right? So I'm glad to see this going somewhere.
Yeah, I think and that's why I kind of said there wasn't enough time in this episode, because their story and Victor's story with Jasper kind of got cut short in order to make room for Fatima's story.
There was plenty of time. It was just wasted on nonsense of people yelling. Like nothing, not that they could have fit more to this episode. The pacing of this episode was terrible.
Well, I feel like we're going to be getting a lot more of Victor and the dummy next week.
Yeah.
When he does. And actually, I do want to talk about that a little bit, because it's another, like I started saying before, it's kind of another side of the same coin with Henry. He keeps talking to Victor, saying, Victor, it's a dummy, it's a child's toy, it's not gonna talk. Can we? He doesn't quite. It's like he doesn't quite get it yet either, but he's much more subdued about it than.
Can we come back real quick, AJ, to this thing Jamie has on the screen real quick, where Ant says it doesn't seem like Boyd told them that they were chained up down there when he freed them.
Yeah, I think that's just our assessment, because they showed them chained up. I don't know that they necessarily know where they were.
Well, yeah. Okay, but I also don't think that Boyd told them, oh, by the way, he never told anyone, by the way, I met a guy chained to the wall for 1,000
because
years.
They don't talk to each other again.
Gave me the worms, right? Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know, like, they don't know they were there. Boyd doesn't know they don't. Yeah. I mean, I think it was just an important thing. So I'm sorry that I cut you off there, AJ. I think you're absolutely right about this Jasper thing and this Henry thing. I mean, we know that Jasper will speak before the end of the season. It's got to happen, right? And Henry, there was not a really good picture of Henry and Victor. We had this business where Henry seems really like concerned. He doesn't. Look, I know Victor just got there and doesn't know his son. Nobody in town is at all bothered that Victor's trying to get a ventriloquist dummy to speak. Henry's like, oh my God, it's a dummy. He's not going to speak, right? Like Henry's not.
This is, and again, I'm not sure the talking dummy is like as crazy as half the other things that have happened.
No, and Henry's new, and everybody else like isn't worried about Victor's behavior and isn't worried about what he expects. And I think maybe, do you think he has to take Jasper into the tunnels or into the cellar? He went to Sarah's house. By the end of it, he goes to Sarah's house and says, I need to come in your basement to have Jasper speak. That's where
he said before the basement's for secrets. So
yeah, and I wonder if he may have to go even to the root cellar or someplace else. But that creepy ass little thing is going to talk and freak me out before the end of this, right?
Maybe.
I don't know what it's going to say.
Right. Henry doesn't understand the rules. He doesn't get it.
No, I mean, it's another situation where if anybody would talk to Victor, they Victor only talks to Sarah pretty much right now, right? You guys are making me think about all this conversation. Made me think about this part at the end of the episode. Is it the end of the episode or where Bacta, the bus driver, there's an old picture of her, but Bacta wants to reopen the diner. And I'm like, oh my God, can you please reopen the diner? Because maybe somebody will bump into somebody and say something. Right? Like, I feel like the diner, it was kind of a throwaway at the end. But I was like, if that makes people talk to each other, then I'm all for it because nobody talks to each other. And we should. Do you guys want to talk more about Jasper? Because there's one more thing to talk about.
And then we need to talk about Tabitha and Jade a little bit.
Well, speaking of people talking to each other, I'm not sure if these people should or should not talk to each other. Like, this was about those guys going out to investigate the wards and the boulders that are part of Tabitha's dream.
No, sorry, I didn't pick up.
Go.
I was going to say the one comment I wanted to make about this is because we talk about things manifesting and also about having importance when somebody says something. Right before they go down here, that woman says something like to Jim about the noises that they heard at the cabin, which again they need to go back to. But he says about the noises and says they're not like what we hear in town or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then we see Tabitha, talking about her dream. I wonder that whatever was out there is whatever is in her nightmare. I mean, we don't know because she wakes up, but I wonder if it'll circle back around to that later.
I hope so. That's another thing that to me is burning a little too slowly and needs to go somewhere in the next 3 episodes. And I hope it goes somewhere because, like, I like we all love a second to last and a last episode that drops something on you, but I also don't love answers that come out of the blue. Now, I know that Harold Perrineau gave an interview this week to Radio Times, I think, where he said, like, oh, the writers are dropping breadcrumbs. You need to pay attention. The breadcrumbs are there. And I kind of was like, really, Harold? Do you know that? Or are you just saying that because we all know it at Pulpit? He doesn't read scripts ahead. He doesn't have next year's scripts.
Our guests have said similar things.
Yeah, well,
they have, that these are pointing somewhere. So these scenes were, I don't know, how do you guys feel about her dream? And to me, what stood out about this really was the interaction with Jim, who was kind of weird and a jerk. And he was not unlike Ellis in that he tried to tell his wife that she didn't know what she knew or she didn't see what she saw.
And she's like, this happened before, that this is important because it happened before I got here. But we also know that she's not the only one that has had dreams and or visions before she got there. We have Boyd's wife, we have Elgin, and Miranda, obviously. But so.
I don't know why they brought their kid out here. That seems
probably because he won't stay home by himself.
Yeah. Because if he's with you, you know what kind of danger he's in. You don't know what he's up to if he's by himself. He's been watching too much Walking Dead. Carl's his hero.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And some people are saying it's a giant spider. I think a lot of people want it to be the spider. I don't know. I just keep saying I don't want it to be a spider. That's all I have to say.
That feels weak.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think though that a spider might move too slow. That's a good point, but I don't know. I mean, she wakes up from her nightmare, so we don't know what the hell it is.
I don't want to be a spider because I don't know that they could CGI a spider well enough that it would live up to. I don't know.
I just love spiders, so I don't.
To me, the two important things here were Jim being a jerk, but also like Jade having this conversation almost with himself about like it being fate. Like if you've had this dream where you always meant to be here and then you never had a chance and you're always going to hit that tree, right?
Yeah. I think that conversation is obviously important. Is it fate? Is it determinism?
I don't know, but he doesn't go far enough to say, like, were we all fated to be here, right? Like,
Yeah.
I guess that idea that some people are called and the rest of you are just sucked along for the ride.
Right, yeah.
I only have one thing to say about that.
Yeah.
Do not mistake coincidence for fate.
Thank you. Thank you. And if we want to think about 12 monkeys, there is no fate but what we make, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Monkeys, right? Like, is it fate? Was it fate for her, but again, not for everybody else? It was interesting.
I don't know, but she's got a weird connection to Miranda at any rate.
But it's interesting for Jade to say that because Jade is the man of science on the show. It could be pseudoscience, but Jade is a science guy who, like, he talked about wormholes and whatever last week, which whether you believe them or not, but for Jade to be like, I believe in free will and oh my God, could it be fate? That seemed like an important moment for the show, maybe. Right? And not for me, because I believe some of them were called. I believe it. I believe it was fate for some of them. Or not fate, but that they were brought there. Her having dreams from childhood is kind of weird. Like, Miranda only had those visions after the acid trip in the park, which was not that long before she went to the town, right?
Yeah.
For Tabitha to have those dreams as a child is sort of a really different thing.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good point. Yeah. I don't know. I think my important question is what she had a dream or a vision? Because to me, that's like a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And I mentioned before how she's dressed like she's from a long time ago. And I know you said it's a dream. Dreams don't necessarily, aren't necessarily to be believed. But I think that's kind of the point, or kind of my point. Was it a dream? Was it a vision? Was it a memory of some, I don't know. Maybe it's a memory of a vision she had as a kid. I don't know. But I think that it's important at any rate because it is connected to Miranda.
Well, especially when you have, she definitely had it before she got here, which I think is what makes it important because you can't have a specific memory of something if you've never experienced it, until later in life.
Yeah. So. And Aunt's saying I would take the guy in yellow or something else. Maybe they ended up being there by bad luck. I think he means instead of the spider, I'm guessing.
That the guy in yellow, or something else. To Ant's point, I didn't see any paintings of spiders down there.
But I think Victor, had a drawing of one somewhere.
I mean, those spiders showed up, and was that season 1 or season 2?
No, season 2 with the spider web. We don't know. There wasn't actually a spider. There's a spider web.
I mean, I wonder if that was just a creepy thing. I don't. It's possible. I'm not sure that I think that creatures beyond like humanoid monsters are the thing. I feel like.
Well, something made that web. Although some of that seemed like a hallucination, though. So I guess it's possible that wasn't really there.
Well, I don't know. We don't really. I mean, spiders are a horror and a paranoia for many people, and they're just a scary thing. And could it be a thing that Boyd is scared? We don't really know. I don't think that's coming back. That hasn't come back for so long that I don't think that's coming back. I don't think it's coming back, but seems like she was only sent there by fate. But what about everybody else? They just randomly ended up there. Jade was on some type of acid too, and Jade was on drugs. Yes, Jade and his boyfriend were on drugs when they arrived.
Maybe that makes him more susceptible.
Maybe.
Well, I think Jade could be the important person in the car on that one.
Well, I think that like Tabitha is connected to Miranda, I think Jade's connected to Christopher. I mean, he had the same visions of the symbol, which obviously he finally found out what it meant because he actually went after it. But I kind of always
we don't know that they're connected to anybody though, just because they're having the same visions.
No, I don't know. I think there's something.
I don't think that makes them connected in any way.
It might mean that person is gone. Next person is susceptible.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he might be the next Christopher, and she might be the next.
Well, yeah, there's definitely something cyclical. We've said that before. That
I do think to Ant's question, and we spoke about this before. To Ant's question about if Tabitha was fated to be there, what about everybody else? I think that some people were brought there somewhere along for the ride, right? We spoke about it earlier. Maybe Ant wasn't on.
Earlier.
maybe Aunt didn't join earlier, but like Tabitha was meant to be there. Her husband and kids, unfortunately, happened to be in the car with her. And Elgin's on the bus, and he's meant to be there, and everybody else, unfortunately, is on the bus. Or maybe it's not Elgin, maybe it's Randall, but there are people who were brought there, and other people are just like, I think Tabitha was meant to come back in that ambulance, and Acosta was unfortunately
We have to go back.
stuck there, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's like you get on Oceanic 815 and there's 8 candidates and like 50 red shirts.
Yeah. So,
Right.
all right. We cover everything here.
I think so, yeah.
This is why I said, do you think it'll take 90 minutes? It's been almost 90 minutes.
I mean, I still hate this episode. I still think it's the worst episode of the season and perhaps the worst episode of the entire series. And I look forward to better next week.
Yeah, I do think it is a slower episode. I think you'll like next
Yeah, no,
week.
I agree with that. So,
All right.
Agatha.
Well, wait, I was going to say, let's just remind for anybody who joined late, I just want to remind about our shows in the following weeks, that next Tuesday at 9, we have Nathan Simmons, who plays Elgin, who's coming live. And on the 19th, we have Avery Conrad, who plays Sarah. And on the 26th, we have Elizabeth Saunders, who plays Donna. Sorry, I know I repeat that a lot, but I want to make sure everybody.
Thank you for repeating it, and we'll get those shows set up and links right away.
Yeah. So everybody come back next week. But
and
thank you for joining us for From. Now we're going to move on to our other show.
One more thing, Jamie. If people want to post questions in the chat, or they can tweet to you early if they want to send you a question.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you can't be around for the live show, you can send me questions on any of the social medias, and we'll make sure they get them.
Which is at Sci-fivision.
Yes. You're better. Remember, it's on the screen. See at X. It's live.
Oh yeah. Yes. Send Jamie
on
questions
the bottom of the screen. But yeah, or even just leave them in a comment on one of these videos. Even like tonight's, I do see all the comments. So as long as it's on the sci-fi portion of it, I will see it.
Okay, so we're now going to move our show along to Agatha All Along.
Oh, wait, I was just going to say one thing I thought of I didn't mention. I am talking, if people want to send questions to the actors that play Jim and Tabitha, I'm probably going to be talking to them as well. I haven't gotten confirmation yet, but I believe so. So
they won't be live on our show. They won't be live, but you'll
not on our show. But if you see, I will send out confirmation when I find out, because I probably will find out for sure next week. But just be looking for that, because they'll be shouting out for questions. Sorry,
that's great. I'll have some.
That works out. Good.
I'll have a question. I'll be like, why is Jim a jerk to his wife and Jade is so much nicer?
Because that's her work husband.
Yeah, her work husband. He's her work husband. Yeah, nice one, AJ. All right, we're going to move along now to Agatha All Along. This was the 2-episode season finale. A lot went on here. I have not been the greatest fan. I like the show enough. I have not liked it as much as you guys. I have not been bought into it hugely. I really think they sucked the landing. I wonder.
Yeah, I enjoyed it all the way through. I mean, and here's the thing, I was not excited for this show at all. Like, the kids were always like, "Oh, Agatha starts soon," and I'm like, "Yay!" Like it's a happy surprise. I really feel like. I mean, I feel like it might be the third or fourth best Marvel show out there, behind definitely behind Loki and WandaVision. But I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was quirky. I didn't take it too seriously because I never really knew what the show was supposed to be about and everything. And you're right. They definitely stuck the landing. I thought the last two. I think playing the last 2 episodes together was a good idea because it really wrapped everything up nicely.
And I kind of liked the Agatha and Nikki backstory coming as a coda at the end.
Yeah.
If they had given us this earlier,
it plays differently.
Yeah, it would have played differently. Jamie, what do you think?
I like that it ended up the way it did, that it was all kind of made by him, and it made sense. It kind of clicked into place. I was surprised and I guess I shouldn't have been, because we know Agatha is Agatha. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that her whole point was just she was killing people and that was the plan all along. I do think that it made her a little more empathetic in a way, showing what about her son, but it also showed that she's totally just a crazy murderer too. So I kind of did both. Yeah. Although I am curious why, oh, that's right. That part of her house wasn't really real, was it? Because I question why her son still had a room in her house like centuries later, but that was part of the not real. That was part of the
part that Billy made,
right?
The part that Billy made.
Okay, that makes slightly more sense then. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think it made her empathetic, but it also showed she's bad. I kind of liked it. I don't know that I love she's a ghost now, but I kind of like it at the same time. I think it worked out well, and I think the story was ended in a kind of cool way. It wasn't what I expected.
So, quick question. AJ, is she a ghost in the comics? Does she become a ghost Agatha in the comics?
Yes, and I just recently found this out. I actually just recently found out, apparently, she is a ghost in the comics. And she pals around with Wanda once in a while in the comics.
All right. So. I also, Jamie, don't know if I love it, but coming from Rio being like, and learning how often Agatha has cheated death, and that she's also basically a serial killer, it's deserved, right? I also, as Jamie pointed out, I like that it's called Agatha All Along, but in fact, it was Billy all along, right? Yeah. Like that's what the name should be, Billy all along.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think the name of the show, it comes from Wanda. It comes from WandaVision, because it turned out that while Wanda was, ended up creating Westview, it all started because of Agatha, her fight with Agatha to start with. So it was Agatha, that was actually a line in that episode that we find out that it was Agatha all along.
Yeah.
It's a line from WandaVision.
Yeah.
So I think that's where,
Yeah. But it is kind of interesting because she was the main antagonist, she was actually the antagonist. I was going to say protagonist, but she actually was the antagonist. She was the main character, but yet it kind of makes it like it wasn't about her in the end, which is kind of an interesting twist.
Well, I mean, it was still about her, just about Bill too.
It was, but I mean, it was kind of all leading up to him. Like he's kind of the point, I guess, is more what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because everything. I mean, yes and no. I mean, he was definitely an important, integral part. But we find out. I mean, like Agatha was the one that bound Jen. So it all played a part.
I think it really leads up to Billy being Billy all along, and Billy, it's part of the Billy origin story. It's part of leading into that Young Avengers.
Yeah.
But it and that sense is partly why that second episode with Agatha's whole backstory kind of is brilliant in the way that it brings all that back around to Agatha, and it humanizes her and makes me sympathetic, and yet also makes me like.
So it says kind of
right.
Well.
Because she's this whole thing with her child, and it's really sad, but she just goes around killing witches for really no reason other than because she's a psycho witch killer.
It's sad. Listen, it's sad.
He died though too. I mean,
it's sad that Nikki was supposed to be stillborn, but it doesn't exactly give you the right to go around and murder witches so that your son can live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's actually not that well established. Like you have to read that between the lines. That is she killing other witches? Like she's killing other witches for energy, and she seems to really enjoy it. But because that there's that experience of getting the power, it's never really made clear. Is she doing it to use that power to keep Nikki alive? That's not really ever clear. Like
because it more seemed like, was she even taking their power? I wasn't even 100% sure she wasn't just killing them.
She absolutely was,
because they didn't actually show it until she came up with this plan.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think she needed to kill them. And I mean, her son even said, hey, let's not kill them.
I think she wanted to kill them. She
Yeah,
enjoyed
she definitely
killing them.
wanted
She needed to kill them because their deaths were what was keeping Nikki alive.
I really
I kind of wondered if that had to do with Rio and that was kind of the deal, but they never said
Yes,
that.
that was the deal. She said, I can give you, you know, because it's actually mentioned earlier in the series. I forget the exact line, but Jesus Christ, Agatha says something along the lines of about, you know, the new coven, about how she can give them to them too. You know what I mean? She's going to give her more
Why
bodies.
did she continue to do that after Nikki was dead then? If it was only
why did she continue after Nikki was dead? Because she's pissed off.
And she's addicted to it. Okay, see, I thought it might be that the death was to give him longer life, but to me that was not emphasized enough.
Originally, yes.
That was never clear.
I thought it was possibility, but I didn't know for sure. So it definitely.
Because I mean, think about it. They killed. You know, immediately she killed. You know, think about it. The night that that witch came to him and said, "Hey, where did you learn this song?" And he runs off, and Agatha's like, "Where the hell's he going?" That night he dies.
Yeah.
The night that they don't do it, he dies.
All right, they never showed like any sort of thing where she was using a spell or transferring power to him. So it was a little, I get it, AJ, but I also get it, Jamie, and I felt the same way. Like, to me, she appeared more like a killer. And then he dies and they show her, and I did love this. Like, so here she is in her,
that was a
like,
great montage.
She's in her original, like, sort of Salem witch trial time,
1720 was it?
And then we've got her in like a colonial or like almost a Jane Austen-y kind of thing.
Yeah, it starts in 1750.
And then we've got these costumes were amazing. Now we got like the 20s ish. And then we had the 80s, you know, kind of, we had all these great little montages. It was pretty cool. Yeah. It wasn't cool because she was killing witches.
Well, the costumes were cool.
I love the last episode might be my favorite of the season. I loved the way I love good photos of this because Disney doesn't make them available, but the idea that Agatha and Nikki made up the song of the road.
Yeah, that was
and
pretty cool.
It didn't exist. It never existed until he made it exist.
Right, and then she used it as a scam. She's basically a con artist scamming other witches to kill them until like somehow Billy like uses it and he's so powerful he's obviously the child of Wanda. He's a very powerful witch. He's really more powerful than Wanda. I mean, we also saw this whole like thing earlier. Oh, I love that whole part also about Agatha like cutting this deal with Rio, right? Like Agatha's like, "Oh, Rio, if I get him to turn himself into you, will you let me go for a while?" And that whole bit about giving himself, and you think that, oh, that's the wrong episode. I mean, we haven't talked about this also. But this whole part where she's like, "Oh, Rio, let me get him to," and Billy shows up, and Billy's like going to defend Agatha. And you remember how you thought it was over? And then at the minute that he trades himself, Agatha's like, "Up, see you later. I'm on my way." Agatha disappoints you in the end, but it was kind of awesome, right?
Well, I mean, she could have killed him. She didn't take all his powers. So she has at least learned she can stop it. But I don't know. It was like she was doing the right thing. Then she's like, "Oh, wait, but he gave himself up. So let me leave." You're right. But at the same time, at the last moment, she did let him take her instead. I mean, she tells him it's a calculated risk that when she kissed Rio, but I think she knew what she was doing. I think that
she knew.
She's still struggling with, do I make the right decision or not? And I think she made the decision, but then she's like playing it off like, "Oh no, I did it for myself," type of thing. Because she could have just taken all his power and killed him when he gave her the power.
So do you think she she gives herself to Rio? Yeah. Do you think she sacrifices herself for Billy in the end?
I think she does. I think
I
she
do.
doesn't quite accept that she did. Like she doesn't want to admit it, but I think she did.
She won't admit it, but I think she did because
also
I think
thinks about Nikki as she does.
yeah, yes,
that
I agree.
comment, you know, about, well, is this how Nikki died or whatever? And I think in that moment she's like, no, and she did the right thing. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's just because Billy reminds her of Nikki. That's all.
And is that taking us all?
And then, of course, you know, and then she plays it off. She's like, "Oh, well, I took a calculated risk, and look at me now, I'm a ghost! Woohoo!"
Yeah.
And yet
well,
she
not sure why turned her hair gray, but
she didn't seem to like being a ghost. Being a ghost seemed kind of frustrating for her.
Yeah.
There's also this other part of the episode which we should talk about, where, you know, she's trying to help Billy find Tommy. Which I do love this part where Death, I really came to appreciate Rio a lot more in these last episodes, where Rio's like, look, he died, like Wanda created 2 children out of thin air, which is not allowed. And then Billy like stole another child's life, basically, right?
Yeah.
And he, I lost.
Well, no, he didn't steal another child's life. He took another body.
Yeah.
Right.
Like William died in that car crash, and Billy snuck into the body.
Right, and I guess in Death's calculation, she says that's an abomination. That's not allowed.
Well, yeah, that's a no. Yeah,
right?
that's a no-no. You get one life, and you were fake to begin with, and you stole somebody else's body.
Right, and it's not allowed, and she wants Billy, and she sure as shit is not going to Billy also let Tommy like get a body.
Yeah,
and we have.
Which is exactly what
I think that at first you thought that maybe that was part of Agatha's plan to get Billy to turn in, but I mean, she did not want there to be a Tommy. So I think Agatha did that for Billy. At least I think.
I mean, but there's the part where Billy says, look, am I killing this boy so my brother can live? And Agatha says, no, I mean, it was great. She says, no, just sometimes boys die. And it was sad. It was very sad and poignant, but
it was, because that's when you realize that Nikki died, like, of natural causes.
Yeah. But Rio is sure not going to let the same thing happen with Tommy. Like, you can't also let your twin steal a body.
Right. And she needs him to give, that was the one thing they did make clear. She needs them to give up the body.
Yeah.
I became 100% Team Rio, Team Death in this. Not 100% team, but she has a job to do, and she's doing it. And they, in her rules of the road, yes, it's an abomination. Yes, it's not allowed. These kids don't even really exist, and now they're like taking other bodies. And Rio's just trying to settle the laws of nature or whatever, right?
And that's exactly
the question. She said in an earlier episode that, like, she hurt the person she loved or whatever, meaning when she had to take Agatha's son.
Yeah.
Because she made this comment when he was first born, or before he was born, that he was made from scratch. Was there no father then? Like, I didn't quite get that part. I was a little confused.
No, I think the opposite, Jamie. Correct me if I'm wrong, AJ, but like Agatha says, I cast no spell. There was no incantation. You were made from scratch. And I took it to mean that there was sex involved and he was made the old-fashioned way. And
that's how I took it.
And it just doesn't matter. We just didn't see it.
In other words, not made like Scarlet made one.
No, he's a natural baby, and that's why he can't heal himself. He has no magic. He's a nat. She says you're made from scratch. I think she means that
he's not magical.
Made the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
There was a man at some point, and we just never saw it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing you have to remember about death is not good or bad. Death is just death. Death is a part of life, and it's literally her job to take the souls of dead people and help them ascend.
Yeah, and I think I really understood that in this episode. I mean, for as much as they played it earlier about this jilted lover relationship between Rio and not just jilted lover, but they still have they're obviously very attracted. And I don't really think, that point where Agatha says, listen, I'll do this for you, but leave me alone. When I die a long, 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 long time from now, I don't ever want to see you. Do we believe that? No, I think these two are very attracted and maybe still in love and maybe would always be, but, and I think that's why Rio agrees to it, because Rio maybe doesn't believe that Agatha would ever be gone out of her life forever.
Right.
Maybe. How much did you guys love? I have no picture of it, but I think one of my favorite parts of the whole episode was after that conversation when Rio turns around to leave and she takes a knife and cuts the scenery in the background.
That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I loved that. Yeah.
I also loved the scene as Billy started to figure out that it was he created it. And then it kind of wraps back around to him saying it was me. Like, which is kind of like it was Billy all along, like, because it went back to the flashback and then wrapped back around. I thought that was cool when they did that.
I liked it, and I don't always love scenes like that, but I have a picture of it. I don't really have a picture of it, where they went back to his bedroom and they showed like all the things in his bedroom and how he really influenced it. And I don't always love that. And I always love it being so like holding our hand a little bit. And yet I really think it was so well done. And I liked it so much when they showed it and took us through it all. And I hadn't paid that much attention to it. It was
know what else I liked was the scene with it was a lot of flashback in the episode. I like we see Alice's death again, and we see Rio come to her, and she's like, "Oh, come on!" She's like, "I just figured everything out. I broke the curse, and now I'm dead. Are you really gonna take me?" And she's like, "Well, you're a protection witch, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." Well, she goes, "Well, you died protecting somebody. Like,
yes.
what more can you ask for?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. I liked that we got to see her again. Of course, I've seen her on other shows, but I liked that a lot. I think it went a long way towards sort of humanizing Rio in a way we need, not humanizing her, but showing, as you say, Rio has a job to do, Death has a job to do, and they do it. And they showed it at the right time, right? We got to see that. And it wasn't
to be cruel.
No, and
that's the thing. You see Rio's empathy in that moment, but
yes.
she also does something to help her understand and move on.
Yeah, and it's not like she's going to necessarily a scary place. Like, she's not going to hell.
We don't know where she's going.
She's going somewhere, right? I thought it was good. I also really enjoyed the final trial, which we only see Agatha here, but Jen was a big part of that. Like, Jen's a big part of this episode.
Yeah, the unbinding.
I really liked the whole part where Jen's the only person who gets off the road alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Billy does.
She got what she was after.
Billy and Agatha do, but
no, Agatha did not get off alive.
No,
Billy did, but not Agatha.
But Agatha's the only.
She didn't continue to live. She got off alive.
Jen's the only sort of like character on the successful, in the coven, and she gets off the road and gets her power back. It was a really great scene, and I thought the actress's name, Shamir. I gotta look her name up because I looked it up today and I tried really hard to make sure I was going to say it correctly, and I don't want to mess it up. But she was so powerful and so good in her scenes, and where she says like, "You have your." Can you, Jamie, please say it again?
I said I would pronounce it Sashir.
Sashir. I pronounce it Sashir also, yes. She was fantastic. Her name is Sashir Zamata. I thought she was great. I thought this was her like greatest sort of monologue that she has, and she says like she chants over and over again to break herself free, but she also has this very like caustic, very like angry thing that she says against Agatha. And when she realizes what's been happening, she's awesome. And then she ends up getting free and getting her power back. When she learns that it was Agatha who bound her, and Agatha's like, whatever, I didn't even really like
She's like, she was like, I was doing bindings all the time. I would give, sell potions and do this. And she's like,
Yeah. And like Agatha has been so violent and so horrible against her sister, like a coven is a sisterhood, right? But Agatha's
that's why she's the covenless witch.
Yeah, because she's a gigantic bitch that nobody should ever get involved with, basically, right? I just love these scenes with Jen. I loved this part where they had the final trial. I don't have a photo in this final trial. We only see like these two. Jen was there. Jen gets away. How'd you guys like that part also where Agatha's left alone and she brings out the lock of hair?
Was that supposed to be a dandelion seed that got stuck in there, right? That part wasn't. Okay.
Yes.
Wasn't sure if it was an eyelash or it was a dandelion
No, it was
seed.
a dandelion seed.
And this is Agatha All Along is what we're on right now. We'll be doing Daryl Dixon after this.
When she plants his little piece of hair and the seed and she cries on it, it starts to grow. You feel bad for her, and then the ceiling falls in because, by the way, Agatha's a total like serial killing jerk, and she maybe doesn't get that. Like, I think that Agatha should not get that to have her son come back. She, as Rio said earlier, Agatha, nobody's had special treatment like you, and you don't know what it means, but she had total special treatment. She got her son for like 10 years, right? Like, and she just asks for more, and
Yeah, I mean that definitely would have been her prize if she got off the road. So it's interesting. Granted, he didn't do it consciously, but he subconsciously let her out, but didn't give it to her. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that brought to the end. This brings up, I guess this is going to the next, like actually Billy is going to maybe be in the Young Avengers, although there's also a new Vision series coming in 2025, right? Although in the comics, Vision has a totally other family also, right? That's not Wanda. He has a different wife and kids in some part of the comics.
I do not know.
Yeah, so I don't know where that's going. But it seems to have left us in a point. And I do think that, I mean, I've been reading a lot about where Marvel is going with their movies and television, and that WandaVision is a great new step for them, that it doesn't require you to, like, the audience is getting sick of having to watch a million Marvel things to know what's going on. And this is a show that you could have watched without really watching a lot of Marvel, right? Maybe you need to know a little, but not everything. And also, there's a little bit less money.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun time.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I really liked it. I know Karen didn't like it as much in the beginning, but
I didn't.
Like, I get why you didn't, but I didn't mind that aspect, the kind of Disney-fied aspect of it, I guess.
As I said, I didn't love it, but I think they stuck the landing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's important. So, anyway, all right. So, shall we move on? What's the next thing we want to do? AJ, I know you don't watch all these shows. Maybe we'll talk about Teacup, and then
we have Teacup too. Yeah, I said we were going to do Walking Dead next. I forgot about Teacup.
Let's do Teacup, and then we could, if AJ and I if you want to talk about, have you finished The Diplomat? We'll give a little 5-minute.
Yeah, I finished it. Why don't you guys do Teacup and did you guys finish Daryl last week?
We're done. No. Tonight we have Teacup and Daryl.
Okay, so do Teacup and Daryl, and then we'll just quickly talk about Diplomat.
All right, Teacup. This was episode 7 and 8 or 8 and 9 or whatever it was, the end of the show. Jamie, you had watched the whole thing as a piece, right? At the beginning.
Watched it in 2 pieces, but yeah.
I watched it slowly. I just watched the last 2 today or yesterday. There are parts of the ending I didn't see coming. There were parts of the ending that I was like, that's dumb. And there were parts that I was like, really? It begs a season 2. And there are some ways in which I'd like to see season 2, but I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good enough to get renewed.
I don't know. A lot. I've said this before. It seems like it got very mixed reviews. Some people really liked it. Some people really didn't. I liked it. Now, did watching it without having to wait a week make a difference? I don't know, but it wasn't made to be watched that way, so you can't go by that. I mean, I don't know. They took the book and they made it different, and then it seems like maybe they expanded on it. I don't know where the book ends. It sounds to me like this is only partway through the book, but I really don't know. There are a lot of things I liked about it. I do kind of like the fact that the mystery part moved through fast and we got answers, but it also was the detriment to character development. We've said that before. So I think it's a positive and a negative. And as we've also said before, I think that the show would have been a better balance if they had done hour episodes, because then they would have had at least some more time for character development, and it still would have ended like the same time. You know what I mean? Like it still wouldn't have went on forever. So,
I agree with you. I appreciate the fast pace of the mystery, but it was hard for me to care about the characters at all. And so if it was an hour and we had a chance to get to know and care about these people a little more, then I might have, like, you know, there are people who were killed that I'm like, yeah, whatever. And we can talk about maybe we should talk about what happened in these episodes and take those deaths one by one. And then it ends with is it a cliffhanger? I mean, I think the ending could be a perfectly fine ending for a limited series and it never comes back again.
It could be, but it's definitely an open ending. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. It could be an ending and I'd be fine with that because, again, like part of it is that they didn't make us care about these people. But part of it just could be a natural ending, and it leaves it open for you to imagine.
It kind of started a new story, though, I feel like, too. I mean, I feel like it definitely was made to have more.
Yeah.
Because we do, like, meet these new group, this new group of people. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I will say the main thing that surprised me was that they killed Scott Speedsman's character. That I did not see coming, I guess, and maybe I should have. And I thought it was done pretty well. I mean, I felt bad he died, but I get like why they did it at the same time, so it made sense. But yeah, I mean, I do agree. You don't care enough about these people, I guess. Like maybe,
I mean,
if you had more, you would have.
We didn't care about him that much. And so killing Scott Speedman's character was a little, I mean, he's the biggest name person in the show. He lasts almost the whole show and you're like, oh, he's going to make it. And then he dies. And then he dies kind of off screen. Like they lock him in the freezer and they suffocate him allegedly. And he's dead. Right. And I get it that he's dead. And that was surprising to me. Yes. And yet a little anticlimactic, but it wasn't surprising. Like, so they kill Valeria, right?
Yeah, that I didn't really like her, so I didn't really care one way or another when they killed her. The only part that I guess I cared about was I felt bad for her kid when he found her. That was the only thing.
Well, and he doesn't remember that he actually killed her.
Right.
So I didn't care about her either, and they didn't make her. So her main thing is that she was having an affair with Scott Speedman's character, James.
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe
Which I didn't really see any more chemistry between them than I did between her and Scott Speedsman, or him and Yvonne either.
Well, or her own husband, right? Nobody.
Yeah, but that's because we didn't get enough time with him, I think.
No, that's maybe a 30. You're right. I really didn't see any way that he would have an affair with her or why he'd cheat on his own wife, Maggie Yvonne Strakowski. Like, it didn't make any sense. There was no time to see that. And in the end, does it matter if they both get killed? Like, there were like no stakes in the end. Like, it's not like they have to go on as a family trying to survive because they both got killed. And I don't really love that the first person, in this episode, the person killed is like she's killed. Yeah. Cause she's a cheating woman and they always get killed. It's a trope.
Well, to be fair, the cheating man got killed too. So
No, but it's a trope that a cheating woman gets killed, right?
No, yeah, it is. But I'm just saying they killed him too. So
I mean, with that said, Jamie, I did kind of like the way they all laid up like dominoes, and that the assassin was like, goes from he gets into Valeria, and then Valeria sets herself up right by the edge of the line, just so that when she goes to Nicholas, Nicholas can throw her over the line. And then Nicholas goes right next to Meryl and puts a rock right there, so that when he goes into Meryl can like hit Nicholas. Like, I really kind of, I mean, Assassin, who's not a character at all, was kind of the best character, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. But did the things? Let me ask. And you said she was killed off screen. See, I didn't know because I thought they just didn't feel the effect in. I really didn't know. I kind of want to go back and watch this now that I can see everything done. Because I want to know what that damn tree looks like. Because I was laughing because it did look like glow sticks stuck together.
So
and I never got to see what it looked like.
When Nicholas pushes her over the line, we don't really see it, and she's like, he's upset, and we just see a barely little bit. We don't really, and I was like, wait a minute. One of the things about the show is that I was promised body horror, and I was promised gore, and we saw nothing. So much later in the episode, when they're leaving, they eventually see her body, and she looks all like, gross and whatever. And I was like, but wait, she's been dead for like a whole night and whatever. And we didn't really, I felt a little bit gypped in the horror category.
I get that.
Especially since the show did such a good job of shocking you in the first episode with that.
Yeah, with the dog and everything. Yeah. So let me ask you, the things that you didn't get before, like you got by the end of this, right? Because when you were asking me like about the gas mask and that, like I didn't know what to say to you because I thought that was kind of already revealed, because I thought that you got that was the way they traveled, because they showed it going into their mouth, but I guess it wasn't as clear because at that point you didn't seem to get that.
No, I don't have a picture of the gas mask. I get it. It was a little weird because I guess I didn't get it because when it happens, the assassin, like, I don't have a picture of I got rid of them. But they open their mouth, but you see it going through the eyes, right? So I guess it wasn't really clear to me that it was like a breath going into your mouth. And it wasn't always clear that the recipient didn't always have a giant mouth. It wasn't like I've seen I'm trying to think of other movies and shows I've seen where it goes through your mouth.
Makes me think of X-Files when they open their mouth and
yes, and they open their mouth.
That's a little obvious with that.
or like a Dementor in Harry Potter going over your mouth directly, right?
Yeah.
It shows up in their eyes, and I guess it wasn't really clear to me, but yeah. So the gas mask is so that it doesn't like jump into you. And so we see, I mean, again, I don't have a photo of it, but when they eventually have to drown Meryl, which is
that was kind of like, I mean, I was surprised they did that, and that was kind of hard to watch. Like they're really
Jamie, right? It was probably the most. It was very violent and very shocking, and I'm surprised they showed it.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it's their kid. That would be like the hardest thing ever, and it was, yeah.
And I think
all the once it went out, it was going to be dead, though. I didn't know that it would necessarily survive. Yeah. I mean, obviously it did, but
I did notice in that scene that James loses his gas mask, right, while they're fighting.
Yeah.
I thought it was really so this show has not done a lot of characterization. Right. I think the actors have really done a good job with what little they were given. Scott Speedman, yes. Yvonne Strakowski, it was incredible as Maggie in this. She did a great job as much as she could. And in those scenes where not only where she drowns Meryl, but leading up to it, where James is like, you got to do it. And she's like, what? Why do I have to do it? And he's like, well, you're so good in a crisis. And she's like,
I know, he deserved slaps when he was saying that.
He's like, oh, you mean because, well, like you told Valeria I'm such a cold bitch or whatever, right? And he's like, oh, you can do it. She's like, what, drown our kid? And then I mean, it was harrowing and horrible, right? It was terrible when they were drowning her. And then for it not to have worked and for James to, although I do have a problem, Jamie, why was he able to resist it and nobody else could? Like everybody else immediately is like, I'm a killer. Why was he able to?
I don't know. I mean, we kind of,
we sort of touched on the fact that some of them seem to think that they could have been taken over and not know it. So I think sometimes it like hid because it didn't want them to know where it was. Where maybe like if it hadn't been hiding, they would have tried to resist it. I don't know. That's
So
a good question.
You mean the way Harbinger sometimes lets Arlo have control and sometimes
Yeah, like I think that some of the times we didn't even know where it was, so they didn't like have a chance to resist it because they didn't know it was inside them. Is what I'm saying. Like I don't know because you're right. I didn't even think about it. He is the only one that sort of did, but
and then he's like, you have to run, get out, right? He's like warning her, like it's clear.
Yeah, at the beginning, I think maybe it just didn't take him over quite all the way at that point. But after that, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting it. He's like, go, you got to run, whatever he says, right? I don't know, but it was surprising to me. It seemed a little bit like out of character of the show that a person was able to be like, oh, you should escape, you should run, or whatever he says, and they go. I mean, yeah. I got some more pictures here, but they're not all great ones. But so they do get away. I like how they get him in the freezer, which they had shown earlier, where Kathy Baker, the grandmother, was like,
nice,
"Oh, let me like get all the food out of here, so we have room in the freeze." The food.
I never even thought about that, but you're right. Yeah,
that was why there was that weird scene.
Yeah, here she is. She's like, let me get the food out so we have room, and that gotta cook.
Oh, I didn't like that she stayed behind. Like I was glad that somebody stayed with the dogs, but like, why not just give the dogs enough? Like, take the dogs, right?
I felt the same way. Like when they're all, this is not the picture where they're all sitting at the line, and they're all like, let's all have a little tiny drink, and we'll go across the line. It'll be safe. And then Kathy Baker is like, oh, I'll stay home. And I'm like, give the dog a drink. I was really, especially when Don was the owner of the dog. And when Don takes his drink, he kisses the dog and then he walks across. And I was like, oh my God, the dog's going to die. I'm so sad.
Yeah, I know. It's sad about, I mean, at least they had somebody to stay with them. And I guess truthfully, if you think about it, they probably couldn't have given it to all the animals. So you can look at it that way, that she stayed behind. I mean,
for
all
she says,
the
I'm
animals.
staying home. There's horses.
But at least let the dog go. For crap's sake, let the dog be safe.
Right. She does say, I'm staying home with all these animals.
Yeah, I know she does. But it just was a little like disheartening, you know?
Well,
like,
I also felt like that's great. Stay home. But should you give her a sip just in case she has to run across the line, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's a good point too. We don't know what's going to happen.
Like,
but yeah, obviously though, the other thing is they can go, even the aliens or whatever can go only one way is the point. Because we were talking about that one time too.
Yeah.
That they can go in but not out.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this episode was a little bit like, I mean, we did have like this whole thing where they're in the house and the kid, like this whole bit where Nicholas,
yeah, I think his name
Meryl
are
guarding Arlo, and I was sure that made, they all thought they were infected, but the part where like Valeria is crouching at the top of the stairs and she's like, oh, let me like get you some cereal. And then later,
I'm like, why are you letting her there? Letting her go there. Yeah.
And the later scene where Maggie is like, oh, let me just walk in here and like give Meryl a kiss goodnight before I leave. And I'm like, you two are the most worthless guards ever.
Yeah.
Like, and also everyone had a gun. So why wouldn't an assassin just, it kind of didn't make a lot of sense to me. I guess I thought they could have done a better job with the whole, like, who is it? Who's it in? And if you've seen The Thing, this is obviously either a ripoff or an homage to The Thing. You've seen The Thing, Jamie, the John Carpenter film?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen the original. I've seen the newer one. But yeah.
Okay. And the whole thing of that is like, who is it? The alien could be anyone. Who is it? And there's actually a fantastic X-Files episode, right? Where they don't know who the alien is. And I thought like they didn't really do a great job. And so it totally made sense that it went to Valeria and then it went into like Nicholas.
But for a while, you didn't even really need to know.
And then it goes to James, right? And then it goes to Meryl. And then it really like, I don't know. I just felt like these people didn't behave like people who would, if it could be anyone, they didn't really, I mean, after a season of some decent, like, what if kind of supernatural horror or whatever, they didn't really do a good job at the end of being like, who is it? Who could it be? Like, they all just sort of like were allowed to go walking around by themselves, which makes no sense whatsoever, right? Like, wouldn't you be in the same room, all 10 of you, and be like,
Yeah,
well,
no, I agree. Yeah, they kept, and then whenever they went in that one building, I think was where Valeria got taken over.
in the
was
barn,
outside. I don't know. Yeah, the barn or whatever. That was kind of like, why? Why are you leaving each other? And yeah.
I mean, it did allow this bit with Arlo and the map, which seemed to not be very important except in the sense of a season 2, right? Like, he's drawing a map of, like, now we learn they live in Georgia, they got to go to Massachusetts next year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we learned that, and that whole part was a little, I don't know. It was fine, right? It was fine. There was that. And then there was this at the end. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that's where I was saying it was kind of almost like another story. Like, I almost feel like that made more sense to put at the beginning of season 2, but I'm guessing they did it specifically to make you want a season 2.
Yeah. I mean, they leave in the van, they get across the line, they're going for help. There's not a picture of where they meet people that McNabb thinks he knows, and they're like, "Oh, come with us, we're going to help you." And
yeah, I wondered at the beginning who that woman was they were showing. I remember that had like no point to the story. I mean, you found out later.
Yeah, she's in the cold open, and you find out at the end who she is. And then Hayden and Izzy come by and kill them, and are like, "You better come with us." And it becomes like it's a definite setup for season 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they set it up that, okay, so they've killed assassin, or they've trapped the assassin in James's, like, when they put Scott Speedman in the freezer, the assassin is trapped and can never get out, maybe until probably I'm guessing that the grandmother might let him out next year, but whatever.
Well, I think he's supposed to be dead because he was human, but I think there's like more of them, isn't there? That's what I took it.
Yeah. But I took it as like there are assassins who have been sleeping all over the planet, and they're starting to wake up, right? Yeah. And so it's a new, like, invasion thing. I kind of like that it leaves season 2 for a whole new thing, but I didn't love that at the end where Maggie, Yvonne Cherkowski there in the back, where she says, "We're not going anywhere with you until you tell us what the fuck is going on." And I'm like, what part do you not understand? Like, you know everything. Like you have Harbinger with you, and you met us. Like, she knows everything, right? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Unless the part she doesn't understand it is the worldwide human resistance. Is the part she doesn't understand, maybe, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that part was a little weird.
I mean, that could be a good season 2, though. The human resistance, even though they're all like sort of they all appear to be like, it's not like they're all Harvard professors on TV being like, right? They're all sort of conspiracy kind of people, but that could be a cool thing for season 2.
Yeah, well, especially if they can just get another one appearing, waking up or whatever, you don't kind of know what can happen. Yeah, I mean, I said I'd like a season 2. I liked it. I think that they ought to try to do hour episodes, though. That's my main. I
agree with you. I think a half hour was kind of too short. I mean, there's a part where I like a taut story where it moves along, and it moved along, and we got the mystery pretty quick. We got answers, but at the sacrifice of characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you watch a movie, but usually the movie they still make you care about them, and they did leave out a lot of character stuff.
I mean, who do you really love or care about out of this crew?
Yeah.
I mean, did I really care that much when Scott Speedman died? I mean, I was like, oh my God, Scott Speedman died. He's the biggest.
Yeah, I know. It was surprising, but
I think I was surprised more because he's Scott Speedman and not because he was the dad. I actually kind of appreciated the number of, like, they killed him. They almost killed Ruben. I can't believe Ruben lived, right? Like, Ruben, did you see when he like slams his head into the ground like 3 times? I was like, oh, he's dead. And then he lives. But I appreciated like some kill offs and some.
Well, it's
but
not, to be fair, it's not a huge cast, so they can't like kill half the cast. Well, they could, but
no,
it
and
wouldn't make sense to
they
kill
introduced two more at the end. But I appreciated the speed that it moved at. But yeah, they sacrificed character development, and I think you're right. Like, it was only 8 episodes. It was 8 half-hour episodes. It was 4 hours. That is crazy short, right?
Yeah.
Like, make a movie or give us a show.
Right. And I mean, they could have done it with the movie and cut half of it out, but like you would have cut different things out, I guess, to still build characters. Because like I said, even in movies, you still grow to care about the characters. They made it all action, I feel like, is the problem. And that's what said it moved really quick. I wanted to know really bad what was going to happen as I watched it from episode to episode and to know what was going on. But if they're going to kill people, you have to feel bad, or there's kind of no point. So
yeah. Well, as I said, I'm not sure it's good enough to get renewed, but
it made me feel bad when they killed that kid died, but like you already knew he died. That one that was like McNabb, with the younger kid that they kind
Travis.
of brought into it. Yeah, like I think I cared about him more than Scott Speedsman's kid.
Yeah, they gave him a really good backstory. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why.
Well, and the whole thing where we spent all this time dealing with the affair, and both Valeria and James die. So what did that really have to do with anything? And going forward, it's whatever. Like, what did that really, like, I don't think they played up that betrayal well enough.
No, because they could have, and the thing is, they could have just had that she found out he cheated on her and not had Valeria at all, because really, I think the only point was to have them mad at him.
Yeah.
And they didn't need Valeria for that.
Yeah. No, it was, We'll see if it gets picked up again. I don't know. Amazon's not as devoted to its
Peacock.
Oh, Peacock. Yeah, Peacock. That's NBC.
Yeah, I don't think Amazon cares.
Peacock is NBC, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move along. We got another show to do.
Okay.
Let's talk about Daryl
Jump
Dixon.
up really quick and grab Advil. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, so we're going to talk about.
You probably can still hear me, but I'm just.
Yeah, so this is the season finale of Walking Dead Daryl Dixon,
Yes.
where they finally are. We finally bring to a close the Paris villain whole thing, and they move on to the next thing. I got some issues with this. I don't think it was a great finale. I don't love where they left us off for next.
There was some good things and some weird things. The part that I feel like was the main problem to me to begin with, and we've said this before, this is an AMC thing. AMC spoiled so early on that they were going to Spain. Yeah. So there was no stakes. We knew that they weren't even going to stay there.
So why do they put them in the channel walking to England when we know they're shooting in Spain next year? That just makes no sense, right?
I assume they didn't get it. I don't see. I'm very bad. I'm just like at history. I'm very bad at geography. I didn't know if it was just supposed to be like they stopped on the way or if they're going to get closer to Spain. I don't know if Spain's on the way from France or not. I know they're not.
No, England is across the ocean, and they got to go through the English Channel. The tunnel goes through the English Channel. No, it's not on the way.
No. I mean France and Spain.
Oh, well, they're both on the continent. Yeah. So I think, Jamie, that you are correct. When they announced they were going to Spain, that kind of made a little sense because they're in France. They could go to Spain.
That's what I meant. Yes. I know that England's across the ocean.
Yeah,
I do know that
you're
much.
totally right.
Not a lot, but I know that much.
But now they're going to go to the UK through this tunnel is the opposite direction of Spain. And
okay, see, that's what I was saying. I didn't know. Okay, so I have a couple, like I said, there's some good things and some bad things. I like the fact that they stayed together and we're not going to have another season of them getting back together. I was like, really kind of, I didn't think they were going to have one of them go to America, but I thought, who knows? I mean, we knew they'd end up in Spain, but so I like that. I didn't mind so much that they had Laurent go off with Ash. I thought that was kind of a cool way to do it. I liked the whole thing where they tricked where Carol, I think it was Carol that tricked him, right? And didn't end up going, and she jumped off or whatever to shoot. I forget exactly how that happened. But that whole thing, and where she stayed with him. That part I liked. I do not understand why they did the whole thing with the glowing make some hallucinate thing, because it was just like Dead City. Like, why? I didn't understand what that was about. It just seemed shoved in there. It seemed almost like a second season or a different season, because the storyline was completely irrelevant to what had been happening. The whole stuff that happened in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they're changing all the cast except for the two of them. Maybe the other ones, they, wanted local cast. I don't know. Because obviously Falou stayed behind. Crodrone him. I think, if I remember rightly, he got killed in the tunnel, right? Or at least they lost him in the tunnel.
No,
So
he runs off in the tunnel.
Right. So we assumed he's dead. I guess it's possible he could come back, but I kind of assumed he's dead. So I don't think he had a mask, did he? When he ran off.
No, he didn't. He was all like, I didn't love the part where everyone has a hallucination that makes them go insane and become really violent and crazy, except Carol and Daryl get really emotional, transformative hallucinations that help them move on with their lives.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what? I mean, that's a very typical kind of TV thing.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that whole end of the episode didn't make any sense to me. I did like the conversation. I thought about it because you put his picture up. I did like his conversation with Daryl that they had at the fire.
Where Crodrone says, like, wait a minute, like, you didn't kill my brother? He's like, no, that girl did. He's like, wait.
He's like, why'd you let me think that?
He's like, I've been trying to have revenge on you all this time, and it wasn't you. And he realizes that his total, like, reason for living has been, like, a lot. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
They could have actually done kind of more with that, right?
Yeah, I like Crodrone. That's why I was, like kind of disappointed he ran off. But like I said, I think it's more like a clean slate. To me, the radioactive zombies reminded me too much of what happened in Dead City.
You know what?
Like that.
I think it could have been an okay thing, except for that, right? They've already been done in Dead City.
Yeah, and they try to make things different each time with the walkers, which I always appreciate. That if nothing else, at least they're like cool differences. And I get they're running out, but like you just did that.
Well, and also
it's a completely different area. It's not like they're near each other. So
this idea, like I get, so I mean, we have a couple things to talk about, but let's go with it. There's this part with the bat guano where they're like, oh, there's bat guano. Let's be careful. And Fiona, the bad Scottish girl, says like, oh, be careful because bat guano can make you hallucinate, which is really not correct and not what happens. And I guess in the end, I like the glowing. You can only see them in the background here, like the glowing, like I guess like all these really cool mushrooms grew on the zombies, and it was kind of cool looking, right? I agree with you that it was already done on Dead City, and they, on the one hand, is it more original? On the other hand, did you rip off the other show? I don't know. I guess the bigger problem is that why did this even happen? This whole like coda to me was not a great ending.
No, they should have just saved it for next season, in my opinion.
No, and we could maybe go back to the ending of the regular show where Daryl and Carol are like, okay, they've escaped. They're, they've got Laurent. They're in this place. They're getting ready to fly. And then all of a sudden, like this crazy shit happens where, I mean, what I really don't like about this is Jacinta being the villain of this episode. Because we've had a different villain for like 3 or 4 episodes now, right?
Totally right. I agree with you. I did like the thing with, and I don't remember her name, the one that was from how do you say Desmond?
She runs like the Moulin Rouge, or what they call it. Her name.
Yeah, that she like tried to trick her and tried to help them. Like I liked that part, the way they did it, but
I liked it, and that she was like, "Oh, I'm not going to sell it to this kid because I like him, and maybe I can make it worth my while." But the idea that Jacinta is now the villain she's like the fourth villain in 4 episodes.
Maybe
right?
the people that played the villains, each of them quit halfway through the show because they're like, I'm done, I'm out.
Right? And I'm sorry, but like, wasn't she a nun in the beginning and like a really nice nun?
Yeah, she was the one that was with Lusang that decided to try to kill Daryl, that pissed him off. And
Yeah,
that was
it's just
back then.
kinda not believable that these
Yeah,
people
I don't
do
like the way they did this.
crazy
And I
killings.
said before, like, what's her face, Janae. I didn't mind her as a villain. They should have just kept her in for the rest of the season.
Right, because Janae was always a villain, so let her be a villain. But to make somebody okay, so let's go back. He wasn't in this episode, but Losang, right?
Yeah.
You and I didn't believe that he really would turn villain, and now we've got his like when Jacinta says like, "Oh, let's make like Sophie be the zombie or whatever." Like, it just didn't make it. Like, it was not. I really liked the idea. I really liked last season and parts of this season of Daryl being away from the United States and being in France and being this new guy and doing this thing. But the villains were sort of like not great. Well, I didn't even picture Janae because she's been gone for a while. But like, you're right, Jamie. I think Janae should have been the villain for the whole season. Have one villain for the whole season. And like,
Yeah, because we had Janae, we had Lasang, we had Janae's assistant lady, and we had
and we've Jacinta, and we have all these people who are trying to, and then we have Anna and the demi-monde and all this, and all that. And Daryl's like against them, and then look, I love Daryl and Carol together. I know you love Daryl and Carol together. I don't know that bringing Carol in improved Daryl's story. Like, I like Daryl being away from where he was and being a new person. I like Carol coming to get him and bring him home. I don't know that there's anything new to be learned from Daryl and Carol roaming the European countryside.
I question though you say that. Like, maybe he'll be changed next season, you know?
Well,
even though he's there. I don't know.
I mean, do you think he'll be changed? Why would he be changed? Because he fell in love with Isabel?
Maybe. I don't know.
I
I don't know. I like them together. I get what you're saying, and I do like kind of the character development they had with him, but I don't know that it necessarily means they lose it. To me, the best part is when they're together. Now, I'm not saying it has to be a romantic thing, because I know you don't like that, and that's fine. And it doesn't have to be. I still like them as friends together.
Yeah, I think they have a great deep love as friends.
Yeah. Well, either way, they have a great, whether you think it's romantic chemistry or friendship chemistry. I mean, they work really well together, and I like them as a team.
I do also.
So I think it will be, in my opinion, maybe a better show next year. I don't know. Okay. Because I feel like the first season that was missing. This season they had it, but they didn't. I don't know. They didn't marry it together right.
Like this season, I think you're right. Like this season, they did a really good job. I mean, I really like the Daryl and Isabel story. Without, I like Daryl. So I think you're right. Last season we were missing Carol. This season, I think I think both seasons they did some good stuff with Daryl, but they came so close with him having a family, and then I don't know. I guess maybe they just didn't like. I don't think that. I think maybe if Daryl and Carol and other people could like talk about it, like, I don't know. In the end, do I wish that Daryl and Isabel, that Daryl was maybe able to express himself more? Like, I believe he's in love with Isabel. He never said it. Like,
they could have kept her in. I was surprised they didn't. I mean, I was surprised when they killed her.
And are they holding his character back? And why? Like, are they like? Could he never acknowledge? Like, so in the end,
to be fair and to be honest, it might just be fan service. I mean, if I'm completely honest, because I'm not like the only one that wants them together, and in
the end, they show them like, I mean, they only had one kiss, which was at the end of season 1, maybe, right? And
it was like somewhere in the middle.
And this part where in the end he sees her like an angel, and he eventually sees the little like sparkles and the little fireflies or whatever. I mean, it makes me think that he really
And he really did love her. Yeah.
her. And I think after 14 years of this character, why wouldn't they let him say he loved her, or be like, why is he still so stunted or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that part may simply be because they thought it would piss fans off too bad. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but that's the only thing I can think. Yeah, I don't know. But I think having a season where they're together and going through whatever, hardships they get to together, I think could make it better. I just don't understand the need to start a new story because let's be honest, the people that watch this next season are going to be the people that like the show, not people that you're hooking with a cliffhanger. Like I just don't think it was necessary.
Right. And we spent 2 years with Laurent being like the chosen one and all this blah blah.
And now we'll probably never see him again.
No. And you're right. Yes, 100%, Jamie. He's gone, right? Like, I'm sorry. Does Ash know how to get to the Commonwealth? No. They're gone. If they live, we won't see them. I did like the scene where Daryl brings the guitar and they sing a few lines, right? Mm-hmm. But I liked it because it shows I think what we have both liked is Daryl opening up and having some vulnerability. Although we know he loves children. He's always loved children. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. But I like that. But I'm not sorry for Laurent to go because Laurent doesn't have a story, right? Like Laurent was a nice kid, but he was there to be like the chosen one. And when you take
I kind of in a way though would have liked to have seen what it became if he went with them. Because they could have become, and again, I'm not saying this meaning like, oh, Carol, I don't mean it in that way, but like sort of their own family unit going forward and him with them and kind of like them having to protect him. I could have seen that.
All right. Or what about Daryl?
I mean, I'm not sad that he's not in it, but I mean, I could have seen it. I wouldn't have minded.
What about Daryl and Isabel and Laurent as a family? I mean, I have seen some people online saying like, would this show be better without Carol? I'm not saying, Jamie, I don't agree with it or that you should do it, but does Daryl have more growth without Carol?
Does Daryl have more growth without Carol? Maybe. I think it depends how they do the script. But would the show be as good and as enjoyable? I don't know. Because to me, I want to see that friendship.
Nobody wants to watch that. Everybody wants to see the two of them. Right?
Because that's what I think that was why the first season suffered. Yeah. I mean, not that the first season wasn't good. I liked the first season, but I think that was what was missing.
Daryl and Carol. Well, it was always became Daryl and Carol, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if Isabel had come with them, it would have been, I think, okay. The four of them, I don't know.
I'm surprised that, and I could see Daryl and Carol and Isabel going together because I see Daryl and personally for me, Daryl and Carol are a BFF, and there's room for a romantic partner in there. I mean, when Carol was with what's the guy from the Kingdom, Ezekiel, all that time, it didn't impact her relationship with Daryl, really, right?
Right.
I get it, and I can say I'm not a shipper. If you're a shipper, I get it, but at any rate,
it was still good, even though he was there. And you're right; they could have had, and that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have even cared necessarily if she was there. I just don't want them to separate the two of them.
So, what do you think about Falou in this episode? I like him.
I like that they gave him kind of this romance story. Like I said, I mean, I'm kind of sad they got rid of all the not got rid of because they didn't kill them, but I'm sad that none of the characters are going to probably make it on to the next season. I liked Falou. But yeah, I liked the story they gave him with that girl. I thought that worked. And I found it believable that he stayed behind with her.
I agree with you. I wouldn't say that I agree with it on paper. On paper, he met her, and 5 minutes later, he's like, wait, I can't eat? No, I'll stay. But I think they had really good chemistry, these two actors.
Yeah. I think it was more like he left for the possibility of it.
Yep. I think because they gave us that backstory where both of them had lives where they lost everybody. and they're looking. And I think these two actors have really good chemistry, and I believe that they were instantly attracted to each other.
Yeah. But
And
that's what
then-
I said. I think it's more, I don't think like they were madly in love or anything, but I think it's more like they saw the possibility that they could be and that there was
They're
something
like,
worth
yep.
exploring.
It's worth staying here and figuring it out.
Yeah.
I like where Falou tells that story about his racist neighbor, and how his life changed when the zombies came, and that was pretty. This show is not usually willing to go there. That was kind of cool, and I think it helped for these two. On the one hand, I was like, wait, they just met 2 minutes ago, but on the other hand, he just met Daryl like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So I did like the part, but in the end, they killed everybody. Everybody's been killed off. And in the end, it's just these two going to, by the way, quickly, did you remember what this was? Like, Daryl had a vision in the tunnel. That was Daryl's grandpa. Remember that? Daryl had a vision of his grandfather from World War I. The whole time that Carol was having all these Scifi-visions, Daryl had this vision of his grandfather, which he goes back to season 2 of Walking Dead, where he mentions that he's got this World War I grandpa. I don't know how I didn't really like these visions. I thought it was kind of a giant waste of our time.
Yeah. Yeah, I said I didn't like the scenes in the tunnel. I thought that it was unnecessary. So
I kind of like the glowing zombies, and there's not a good picture of them.
yeah, but it was kind of like what they did in that's what I said though. They had that in Dead City
You're right.
though.
You're
which
right.
is why it irritated me. It wasn't that it didn't look cool. It's that I've seen it before.
Yeah, I appreciate them trying to do something new, but you're right. Was it really new?
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, it has not.
Overall, I was going to say, overall, I think it was a good season. But yeah, I mean, it still had problems, but it was good. I still want to see it when it comes back.
Overall, I think last season was better. I think this season is a little.
I think there was parts of both of them I liked and parts of both of them I disliked.
Fair. Fair enough. I think there was some stuff that I didn't. I mean, it's only 6 episodes, so how much can you love or how much can you hate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Has it been renewed? I think so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're going to Spain, remember?
They're going to Spain, and Dead City's coming back in January and whatever. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll move this on. We're gonna close this out until next year, then.
Yeah.
All right. So those are our 4 shows that we regularly cover. I think AJ and I might have 1 or 2 more things to.
Yeah. Did you, before you go into Diplomat, did you watch any more before?
Oh yeah, I watched the 3rd episode of before. I think I told you, Jay. I think AJ has not watched it yet. It's just you and me.
No, I forgot.
That's okay.
I think I texted you that I didn't love the 3rd episode. With a little, only because I feel like, I mean, I'm going to watch it some more, but I feel like the show right now is a lot of scary vignettes, but not a story coming together. And I also, that little boy, I feel so bad every time I see the little boy on the screen, and he's so suffering, and it's terrible. Have you seen the whole thing? Have you seen the whole thing?
I still haven't seen. I don't remember which episode I left off on, but it was whatever I did before. I haven't had time since then to watch it. I think I watched more than you did, though. I might have watched like 4. How many are there? I can't remember how many there are.
And I don't want to belabor it, but quickly, for part of me, the part where Billy Crystal's wife committed suicide and he won't go to therapy, won't talk about it. And in the end of the 3rd episode, it becomes clear that it seems like maybe he might have helped her along in her suicide. It seems like
actually, I think I'm where you are then, because that's what I remember was the last thing. So I may be where you are.
In the end, it seems like she was dying, and he might have helped her along,
or at least that he didn't help her at any rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like he left her there.
I'm not sure I love the show. It feels to me like a lot of stuff that's not coming together yet. But I have Apple TV, and so I'll keep watching it maybe, and we'll see what happens next. It's only like 8, I think, also.
That's fair.
Right.
I was gonna say the only other things I saw is Cross, which isn't out yet. I think all the stuff I've seen isn't out yet. Started
Okay.
watching more Arcane, which I'm enjoying. But
That's
yeah.
Saturday.
Is it Saturday? I was gonna say I know it's in a couple days. Well, I started watching part of it. I haven't gotten through it yet, the new one yet, but I'm enjoying it. And that interview will be up soon. And Cross, wait, there's something else. I feel like there's something I'm missing.
Well, I kind of watch Cross. I think I'll watch Cross.
Cross is really good. Watch Cross. Wait, let me see dates. I have my date list. There's something else that's coming, and I'm like blanking.
Silo is
Oh,
coming.
you guys probably won't watch it. The other one I covered was Rebus. I guess I want to say it's a Scottish series or a British series. I guess it's a Scottish series. It's with Richard Rankin, who's from Outlander. I covered that and started to watch that. But you don't necessarily like detective shows and things like that.
And we have like 3 series coming in November that we got to cover. And so, right, we got Silo, we got Dune, we got whatever.
Yeah, there is stuff coming. But yeah, do watch Cross, whether it's sci-fi or not. It's really good.
Right.
And it's out of Sod, which is good too.
Karen, did you watch Caddo Lake yet?
No, I haven't watched Caddo Lake. Is it good? It keeps coming
It,
out.
it was good. Like when Jamie first suggested it, I was like, eh. And then I was looking for something one night, and I was like, you know what? Jamie said this was good, and like it's not what you think it is at all.
No,
like it's really done well.
No, today I watched a terrible movie called The Tomorrow War, where Chris Pratt.
Oh god, that came out a while. That's on Amazon.
Yeah, I watched it a long time ago. I can't remember what I thought about it, but I must not like it that much.
You know, I watched it because after I watched Teacup, I love Yvonne Strahovski, who plays Maggie in Teacup, and she's amazing, and she's one of the leads on The Handmaid's Tale. And I love her, and she's in that movie, and that's why I watched it because I love her. But anyway, so Jamie, so AJ and I got one more show, which we might talk about, which is The Diplomat.
Yep, you could do that. Let me ask AJ one question first. Did you ever watch Hysteria yet?
I keep forgetting about it.
Okay, I just wondered. I need to finish it yet, but I've watched part of it. I did enjoy it. All right, you guys talk The Diplomat. I'm going to stay on, but I'm going to connect back on the iPad because my back's killing me. So I'm going to disconnect and reconnect.
All right. Okay. So real quick, I love this show. So good.
I love this show. It's a great show. Oh my god, I love it.
So good. I will say though, I feel like it was kind of obvious that Trowbridge wasn't behind everything because they were so sure he was.
And he's such a kind of buffoon, right?
Tool.
So
yeah.
I
mean, the politics behind everything are so insane, and I love the addition of Allison Janney, though. I think.
She was fantastic. She's fantastic. She only is in like 2 or 3.
She's in 2 episodes. I feel like she'll be playing a much bigger role in next season.
Well, and she has that amazing scene where she does that incredible like geopolitical lesson.
Yeah.
And I think that that was she was incredible. That's almost an Emmy-winning speech she gives. I like the season a lot. I wish
it wasn't so short.
Yes, I think 6 episodes is too little, but I've done some reading, and I think that they were shortened by the 2 strikes. The writer strike,
that makes sense,
and the actor strike hit them both. Like some shows only got 1 strike; they had both strikes.
Yeah. I forget what I was gonna say. I think one thing that kind of started weighing on me that it was like enough already was oh crap, who's her right hand man there?
Stewart?
That was dating Stewart.
Yeah.
Like Stewart, dude, get the hint. I mean, I think he finally got the hint at the end there, but it was like, dude, you guys are done. You're broken up. Just enough.
Yeah. Stewart was really bad the whole season. He was like, I know he got blown up he had PTSD, whatever. But he jerked to everyone. But the way he treated his ex-girlfriend there,
Idol,
and he was really inappropriate in the office. I think, right? Like
I do like the one conversation that they're having, and he goes, and all of a sudden I hear why we shouldn't talk about this at work.
Yeah. I mean, he was totally wrong, right? Always on
Yeah.
that
Oh
wrong.
yeah. Absolutely.
And
I
you know
thought
that
she
scene-
handled herself really well about the whole thing.
well, he's a total jerk. Like, you know that where that scene where he goes like, I just think you're really whatever, and I want you to be happy. And like when I was like, oh my God, you're such a jerk. Like he really is so condescending and jerky to her. Like, what? Like
Yeah. You know what though?
he
That's
was
what makes it.
an unsympathetic character this season.
You know what makes it so bad though is it comes from a good place. Like he's just not good at it. Like you
I
know.
know. He later complains about leaving left out of political stuff, and the two of them, you know, Kate and also what's her name? They're both like, well, we can't trust you. We can't talk to you. Like we're leaving you out because you're, you know.
Yeah, after the accident, I understand.
He's
I
a
understood
whiner,
why.
and he feels bad, but it's partly his fault why they can't trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when he called Billy and he was like, "You need to get rid of her," and Billy is like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
to the
that was
point where
crazy.
she,
Yeah,
to the point where she sets up that sting on him with the chick from the office.
that was fantastic. That was
He's like, "Do you have a sex tape of me?" And she's like, "Wait." Okay. Well, she was just supposed to, talk to you. Apparently, she did her job a little too well.
Not too good, yeah. Yeah. I loved where the whole political conspiracy went this season.
Yeah.
That it became so much more involved. And I really like the way all the internet people are saying, and they're not wrong, that, you know when Allison Janney gives that big speech and explains everything to Kate?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, well, why didn't Kate know this? Like, she's a very knowledgeable, scholar, and she's experienced, and why would she not? She obviously must know that you're the ambassador to the UK, and you don't know that the only nuclear weapons base is in Scotland. You obviously know
Well,
that.
she knows that part of it, but I don't think she realized how bad things were with keeping an eye on Russia.
Yeah. Well, she'll find out because the ending was amazing. What do you think about that ending? I don't love the ending.
I mean, it was kind of quick and rushed. I mean, it makes perfect sense because what's his face there is an idiot. I'm drawing a blank. What the hell's Hal? Hal is the worst. I mean, Hal is the absolute.
Yeah, he's the worst. You're right.
But you know what the worst part about Hal is when he's right. That makes it worse.
Yeah. What's worse is that he thinks he's the right. He always thinks he's a genius, but he's sometimes right. Yeah.
Yeah. But going directly to the president instead of Gannon, I was like, when the president showed up on the screen, I was like, what is he doing? I was like, this is going to end badly. And it ended really badly that he gave the guy a heart attack.
Yeah.
I think it makes it interesting because, the VP, she was on her way out, and she is far from on her way out now. What I think could be interesting, though, and we'll obviously see where it goes next season. I would be interested to see if she, because all right, and what's it? Secretary of State becomes the VP now.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Kate's out. Kate is out of the line. Yeah.
But that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if I don't know exactly how the whole political structure works and how the ins and outs of it. Like I said, I do know that Secretary of State is next in line for the VP after the president passes, but I wonder if there's a way where they say to the Secretary of State, "Hey, we want you to stay Secretary of State," and she offers it to Kate.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting dynamic.
I mean, you never know. I love that whole part with Kate and the VP. It was a really good episode or two where they kind of went back on like, do you trust me? Do you believe me? Like, it was great. And yet, by the end of it, I feel like, okay, so I don't trust Grace Penn, the vice president.
Yeah.
Like, has she played Kate? I think the whole previous couple seasons were about like, they weren't playable. Like Kate and Hal were the smartest people in the room, and maybe they met their match in the last 2 seasons, and maybe the vice president played them.
Well, now that she's going to be the president, I almost there's a couple ways to go. I mean, she could totally derail her career completely now. I mean, it's all very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they play this out, especially considering that she was I mean, can they still use this against her with her being the woman behind the curtain with what happened with the British ship?
Yeah.
Even though she's going to be president now.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little ridiculous, though, seeing all those Secret Service go running out to the lawn like that.
It was so dramatic. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I thought it was a little over the top. I feel like it wouldn't go down like that. I feel like it would be much more subdued, like maybe 2 or 3 like hurriedly walking towards her than like 30 Secret Service running across the lawn.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
But it's TV, dramatic of purpose.
Never know. Yeah.
So
okay, are we through with that? Are we about finished with our show now? All right.
Yeah, we don't need to belabor it.
All right.
Was there anything else?
Nope.
Talk about it.
I think we're
We're
good.
back next week with only like From and what do we have next week? Teacup.
Oh, geez. Yeah, because
We don't have crap next week. We have From next week.
Well, we have an interview first, so that's good. It just means maybe.
Oh, I forgot. That's right. We have.
We'll be back here with a long show for From, and then whatever else is scooting around. So we'll talk about it.
And at least it doesn't matter if it runs longer, because I was trying to mark how long we were going to be. I told you it would be near 90
all right.
minutes.
No matter. We'll be back next week with some other shows. Thank you, everybody.
And the interview with Nathan Simmons is next week.
Cool.
And Sunday night at 10:30, I'll be back again for the deep dive.
Great.
With Julie, but not 6 hours this time. I don't think my back can handle it. I don't know how the hell we talk for 6 hours.
Thank God.
There were still quite a few people though listening live. Totally appreciate it. I just can't sit that long again.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you, Roger and team.
Yep.
And good night.
Yeah, go watch the election now. The end of it anyway. Good night.